Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, race fans alike, and welcome back once again to the TCR Trak Racer Cup, hosted by MotorMotion E-Series, and it is round 7. It's the finale of the first season with our Audi TT Cup cars. We're at Watkins Glen today. It's going to be an absolutely brilliant race, so stay tuned for both the Division 1 and the Division 2 coverage. We've got 42 meters of elevation change at New York, USA at the circuit. The longest straight is 660 meters, 15 turns, 4 sectors. It's going to be a brilliant way to round out our brilliant season here, season 1. Of course, my name is George Cooke. In the commentary box today is going to be myself and the legendary and very articulate Nick Pautasso. Nick, how are you doing today? Are you ready for this incredible finals we're about to see?
I'm very excited for this finale here at Trak Racer TCR Cup. What a series it's been here, George. We've got Division 1 coming up, and the one man that's been leading the whole way is the Cooke driver, Andrew Scott. 6 out of 6 races. Could he be the first driver to etch his name in MotorMotion history and become the only driver to whitewash an entire series? We'll find out very shortly, but I'm very excited with that. We have 14 other competitors ready to take that crown off Andrew Scott's reign of taking victories here at MotorMotion. But he's already sealed up the Division 1 championship, so he's just racing for pride. He's racing to have a good time, but we've got, as I said, 14 other drivers are wanting to take that victory away from him.
Going to be a key thing to watch in Division 1, certainly, and then Division 2, as always, is going to be heating up as well. The title there is a little bit closer than in Div 1 and not quite fully sealed up yet, but we're going to get into some information for you guys and then get out on track. The qualifying is going on right now, and we'll bring you the results for that momentarily. But looking over to the team's title at the moment, and Cooke Driver Development have run away with the season this time out. No one is going to catch them. It is a sealed deal for that New South Wales team led by Andrew Scott. Of course, we've got Mick Hill in there as well. The battle, though, between 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, and 5th place continues to rage on. Trackstars Racing out to a great lead at the moment on 401 points. The South Australian team with Tyler Lancel and Ricky Rick doing very well at the moment in both divisions, but they've got Road Sick Racing on their heels, only 27 points behind them. And then behind those guys in 4th position, eager for a top 3 position, it's going to be Diffusion Race Engineering on 361 and CP Motorsports on 360 points. There's some key battles going on here today, Nick. What do you think the big thing to watch out for is today?
I think the big thing we have to watch out for is how far CP can actually move themselves up the grid, because where last time out, before we started the race, they were actually running 3rd place overall, like in the teams championship, and then all of a sudden they've had a really bad race. Van der Zandt and both Harrison didn't have great performances last time out, and they dropped the team dropped all the way down to 5th place. So it's going to be a bit of a mammoth task to try and get themselves back into the top 3, unless we see spectacular performances from Dean Van der Zandt and Stephen Harrison. But one team I do want to keep an eye on here, George. I want to keep my eyes on Mad Turtle Racing. They're only 321.5 overall. They've got some fair margin between themselves and CP, but if Foster can come through with a victory tonight, and if Hamilton will be able to get himself high up into the grid in Division 2, we might even see a surprise from Mad Turtle Racing. They might be clawing themselves and putting a name for themselves inside that top 5. So lots of battles here for bragging rights here at MotorMotion E-Series. As you said, Cooke running away. It's all up to Trackstars to keep P2, but the resurgence, I will have to say, for Road Sick Racing, that team has flown under the radar this season here at MotorMotion for the Trak Racer TCR Cup. They've come from absolutely nowhere. Peter McKenzie and Ben Churchill for Road Sick Racing, that has been a really good recovery drive for that team.
Couldn't agree more, and we'll take a now look at a Division 1 standings as they are before round 7 begins. And Andrew Scott, as Nick has just said just before, he has run away with the season. He has secured it entirely, and really now it's up to who's going to get P2 between Tyler Lancel and Robert Foster for Mad Turtle Racing. So as he said, a dark horse, the Mad Turtle guys and the Road Sick Racing guys. So it's going to be a really interesting battle throughout here, but you can't count out the likes of Dean Van der Zandt, who's only sitting 20 or so points behind Tyler Lancel and only 2 points behind Robert Foster. So it's all to play for still for the top 3, and it'll be good to see. I mean, Dean van der Zandt has brought a lot of the challenge this season to Andrew Scott, and it'll be interesting to see if he can actually dethrone him. Will there be a 7 out of 7 for Andrew Scott? Will there not be? But all around the grid, the Division 1 guys have been fantastic this season. Some brilliant performances around the grid. And yeah, there's going to be some interesting battles today, I suspect, out of Watkins Glen. So what are we expecting today out on track, Nick?
Definitely want to be keeping my eyes on van der Zandt in 4th place. See if he's able to claw some points where he lost crucially, as I mentioned before, where he lost points in the last round. Can he get himself back up into that top 3? Can he get any closer to Tyler Lansdale in 2nd place? Or in the theory, it's all up to Lansdale just to maintain track position ahead of those 2 rivals behind him, in Rob Foster and Dean van der Zandt. He just needs to finish ahead of them, or even if he drops the position, he needs to only just drop at least 1 or 2, because any more than that is going to be crucial for this Drivers' Championship. But then we look down the grid there. I will give my man of the match, and I think you'll agree with me with more. Scott Taylor in 5th place, the sole privateer, except besides Nick Gow, who's running in 15th place. Scott Taylor in 5th place has been doing a fantastic job. What a season. From the start of the season, where we last saw him at Brands Hatch facing the wrong direction, hitting all barriers left, right, front and center, even facing the wrong direction a few times in that race, and to then just get his head down, put in the practice hours, put in the laps, and he's put himself up into P5 in this championship. So I would say it's been a brilliant comeback for Scott Taylor. But don't keep your eyes off 5th place battle between himself and his good mate in Shane Attard for Trak Racer Tech. And then we have Nats, who's just got a slight margin over Peter McKenzie, and Samson in 7th, 8th, 9th. And then rounding up the top 10 is Kevin Cooper from ISA Esports. And unfortunately, bit of a strange one with Matthew Joyson. We did see last time out in the Player 1 GT3 Championship, finishing 2nd overall in that championship. But he's well down the order in these Group 4 cars, so potentially he's just not won with these cars from what I've seen over the races he's done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's 11th and 4th is the difference between Dean van der Zandt and Matthew Joyson here at TCR, but over in GT3, it's only a position of 1. So it's a bit of an interesting one. I think you're right, though. These cars are very tricky to drive. They're a little bit hard to handle, and sometimes they don't suit people. It's just the way it goes. And I've just heard from down on the pit lane that qualifying has finished, and we've got some results compiled for you, and we're going to go through the grid now and tell you exactly who has finished exactly where on the grid. And it will be, I think we've had about 10-15 minutes of qualifying, and Dean van der Zandt manages to take out P1, and on the grid next to him is going to be Robert Foster. Andrew Scott, who's looking for his 7th win in a row, starting 3rd on the grid with Matthew Joyson. So we were just talking then about how Matthew Joyson doesn't seem to have much pace in these cars, and here he is, proving us wrong immediately, Nick.
Absolutely. Obviously, he's won with this track. That he has told me in the background that he does like Watkins Glen. It's one of his favorite tracks here on the Gran Turismo 7 platform. And if you like a track, you expect to go very well in qualifying. So far, he's put that car into 4th place. And then we have Aiden Sampson from Diffusion Race entering a very good qualifying there for Aiden Sampson to be inside the top 5. But then Tyler Lansdale in 6th place, where we've always seen van der Zandt, Foster, Scott, and Lansdale in the top 4. The one name that is missing from that top 4 is Lansdale. He's sitting in 6th place and a fair few positions behind Foster and van der Zandt. And this could be a very crucial thing in the overall championship for the drivers.
That's absolutely right. In 7th position, we've got Isidways, and then we've got Patton in 8th position. Moving along the grid, we've got Taylor in 9th and Shane Attard. So we were talking about Shane earlier. Seeing him in the top 10 is good, but again, he's had better performances in qualifying. So some folks here definitely preferring Watkins Glen to other circuits on the tracks. And this being a very high-speed circuit with lots of flowing bends, it will definitely suit some driving styles, and others it will not suit at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you've got to especially keep an eye on a couple of the controller drivers. In Ian Ward in 12th place, he might be running a different strategy tonight, where the front tires really chew the hell out of these Audi TTs, and especially kind of similar to what we saw in Barcelona. So watch out for Ward. Maybe he might go for a different strategy starting in 12th place. And as we look down the rest of the grid, in 13th we have Nick Gow, the privateer, the Cooke driver, sponsored driver in 13th place, and then Kevin Cooper for ISA Esports starting in 14th in last place. So The big question is here, ladies and gentlemen, can anyone stop the run of Andrew Scott getting 7 for 7? Can we see Van der Zandt take his first victory? Or will we see Robert Foster finally putting all that qualifying pace into the race and get himself high up to the grid as possible? We'll find out very shortly, but I'm hearing words here, George. It is time to get off the grid, head back to our commentary box, and it's time for the start of Division 1.
Exactly right, and as we run back, I do see the lights beginning to go, so let's get this started because it is now the final round of the Trak Racer TCR Cup with MotorMotion E-Series, and we are on the grid now, lining up. 4 lights are gone, 5 lights are gone. Dean Van der Zandt on the top of the grid. We've got a false start there from, I believe, Aiden Sampson, and he's got a fullback already. It's a great start off the line for Dean Van der Zandt, but rolls right on him at the moment. So Foster looking very, very strong there. Andrew Scott doesn't want to look out on the inside on the 90-degree turn 1. Very sensible move there. Holds on to P2, and then behind him, Matthew Joynson off to a great start as well. Aiden Sampson behind them, and then we've got Tyler Lansdale in 6th position. As a good start from everyone so far. Not much side-by-side action. They want to be using the slipstream down the straight here. Good stuff, and Andrew Scott right on the bumper of Dean Van der Zandt.
He's going to be looking for a move there as they start to look through the inner loop for the first time here on the first lap of 23. It's all about sorting yourselves out, get yourself into position, tucked right underneath the rear wing, because you make a move there, you're playing a big risk here. And Andrew Scott did the right thing as that he is the champion here at Trak Racer TCR Cup. Unofficially, we wait for the race to be concluded and the season to conclude. Aiden Sampson goes defensive on Tyler Lansdale. Tyler Lansdale with a switchback move on the diffusion driver takes 5th place away, and that is crucial for Lansdale's progress up towards the pecking order. He needs to get himself high up into the grid, and he needs to be challenging Van der Zandt. He needs to be challenging Foster and Ando if he wants to have any chance of keeping P2 on that championship. But the thorn in all of this is Matthew Joynson in 4th place for Pit Lane Esports, Juice Motorsports entry in 4. So well done to him to be getting himself high up into that position. But Sampson is very lucky. He's a very lucky boy. I will say Sampson. He did get a false start, but as soon as the race started, he went back into a solid form, and he went and he got a little bit of a push from Nax right behind him, so that helped him keep that P5 going into the 90-degree corner. But as they're about to conclude their final turn here at turn 13 at Watkins Glen, that is 1 lap etched into the history books here at Watkins Glen for the Trak Racer TCR Cup, and the first lap is being led by Robert Foster in 1st, with Van der Zandt right behind in 2nd, and Scott in 3rd.
That's how we want to see a first lap here at Watkins Glen, because we know that this track can get very, very close quarters, especially with the slipstreams. And in corners like turn 1 as well, you don't want to be getting on the other side of track limits, because it's very easy to do so. Aiden Sampson there as well, as you mentioned, he had a poor start, sadly, but he was able to get a little bit of a shunt out front. Hopefully that's not caused damage to any of the other cars on the grid, but he's now under a lot of pressure from Naki Nax, so he's going to have a lot of work to do now to get back up into the top 5 positions. Tyler Lansdale, of course, no easy man to get past. He's an incredibly skilled driver for Trackstars Racing. We've seen what he's capable of doing, and he's fallen off a little bit here due to that false start by Aiden Sampson from Matthew Joynson. So Joynson here holding onto the back of Ando, but I think Ando's just taking this nice and chill. He doesn't have any interest at all about being caught up in the action that's going to go on in the first few laps. And we haven't mentioned it so far, but the mandatory tyre is the mediums today. What are we thinking about pit stops here? I think there's going to be at least one that needs to be done.
Absolutely, there's going to be 1 pit stop made. As we can see, there are a few drivers. They look to be starting on the mediums there, so maybe Lansdale is potentially a driver on the mediums. He's not really reeling in Joynson, and we also see Foster, who's actually pulling away. So we see a move there on Nax on Sampson there, a little bit of a push to pass there, but still gets himself a nose ahead of the diffusion driver. So the net racer, but we see Sampson really going back into the attack mode, and this is a great onboard shot here by GLR Scotty and Scott Taylor, sitting in 8th place, watching this battle unfold in front of his eyes. He's waiting, he's wanting the boys up ahead just to really keep battling it out, because he'll take 2 for 1 if he can, as what you get at a Pizza Hut delivery option, that you can get a 2 for 1. And as it comes through, as it goes for an inside move, that's 1 done. Will he get another one if he gets himself close to Nax? Nax has just pulled away, so Scott Taylor up into 7th place and holds on very nicely there. Very nice move there into the 90-degree corner. It's very easy to really run the car wide, so even if you compromise going into turn 1, taking the inside line, you have so much extra tarmac there on the left-hand side that you can really take advantage of track limits.
Correct, and the overspeed here for Aiden Sampson looking very strong. And that'll be a slipstream for Peyton as well. So GLR Scotty here, he was ahead, but he's going to get eaten up towards the bus stop chicane. Can he get ahead of Nax? Yes, he can, get ahead of Peyton. Peyton runs wide, and that opens up PJ McKenzie. So he's going to come through, and behind them we've got another driver. So it's a three-way battle going on here. Brilliant
around
stuff.
The outside. Around the outside goes Peter McKenzie there on Patton. That was a great move there by PJ Mack there in 9th place. And right behind there was Shane Addard. So this is very crucial for Shane as well. He needs to get positions. He needs to move up the order. He needs to get himself ahead of Scott Taylor, who has really started, who's got a couple of positions rather ahead of Shane Addard in 11th place. And then right down the order we can see Nick Gow, the Hankook driver, in 12th place. He's running along very nicely there. And then we have Kevin Cooper for ISA Esports in 13th, and then we have Ward on 14th place. So he's probably definitely running an alternate strategy, but he's sitting down in 4th place, really struggling with the RoboSport racing driver. So he's a bit of an up and down season. The hype around him, and me knowing him personally, in other forms of racing, he's a very, very strong driver. He's very quick. He's one lap pace, he's qualifying pace, and overall race pace is pretty decent. But unfortunately, maybe with these TCR cars and his DS5 controller is not really matching up to what the car needs.
Oh, very wide through the final corner, turn 15. But yeah, I think it's a good point to mention. We've got a mix of controller and wheel drivers on the track, and the TCR cars, the Audi TT Cup cars 2016, they are fantastic cars, but they take a lot of control on the tires. You need to manage the tires first and foremost, almost certainly. They're pretty good on fuel for the most part. You know, they're okay through the corners. They do have just enough aero, although we have speculated over the course of the season that they've got pretty much aero equivalent to that of a snail. So not a lot, but it's got some. But yeah, very tricky cars to drive. So when you see someone who's falling down the grid there, it's almost certainly a strategy call. Keep it nice and slow, keep it nice and paced, nice and even. You don't want to be pushing the car too much because it'll burn the tires out, and suddenly you'll be finding yourself doing a two-stop in a race like this.
100% there, and I feel like that's usually been the strategy of what Foster usually does. He really goes on the aggressive. He really pushes that car like it's a qualifying run. He's just basically just trying to pull a gap, really extend that gap over the likes of Van der Sant, and even now Scott in 3rd place. But he's doing a really good job there. But Van der Sant's not really falling off here, so this could be some true potential pace that we're finally seeing from Robert Foster, car 270 from Mad Turtle Racing, really putting himself right on the front foot, sitting up in 1st place, because we've seen this a few times here, George, over the TCR Cup. But we have seen Foster, you know, qualify absolutely phenomenally. He's taken multiple pole positions here in the Trak Racer TCR Cup, but unfortunately, just his form just slips well down the order. Then he loses position, has his odd occasional spin outs here and there. So far, at the end of lap 4, going on to lap 5, he's looking to keep that car very well pointed here, and a track that is around. What are we looking at, about 3.8 kilometers around this circuit? It's really important just to keep this car on the tarmac there, because there's no margin for error. One mistake through the bus stop and you are sent off onto the gravel, onto the grass, and you will pick yourself up a half-second penalty. And even worse, the car will just lift off and it will just be facing the wrong direction. But we look back to Andrew Scott in the Cougar development car, right in the slipstream of Van der Sant in 2nd place. Matthew Johnson picks up a 2.5 penalty there, so he definitely must have cut the 1st corner, unfortunately, for Matthew Johnson. So he's going to be 1.5 seconds in these cars as well, George. It takes absolutely forever for that car to burn the penalty, and the car is so slow, it bottoms out, it bogs down, and he's going to really struggle because the burn zone is actually going uphill. So that's the worst thing. It's an uphill burn zone, and he's trying to get the power down and to try and get a flat terrain. It makes it very hard to get that car it'll be very hard for him to, you know, even keep P4, because Lansdale's not too far behind.
That's right. I mean, luckily for him, through the boot is where the penalty zone is, which we're just going through the toe at the moment. So this is the uphill section that Nick's just been talking about. He'll serve his penalty now. He pulls to the right-hand side of the track. But as you can see, look how much speed you've lost. You're on the accelerator very early through toe and up the hill. And, oh, this is going to be close. And, yeah, Nax is going to get him around the outside. Nothing that Matthew Johnson can do there. So dropping from 4th position to 6th. that is going to be a very, very painful experience for him in the cockpit. But for Tyler Lancel, he's going to be stoked. He goes, great, that's a free position. Now I get to hang around in a bit of clean air. I can see Ando out the front and take it nice and easy. And coming back to what we were mentioning beforehand about Foster's performances, you're right, he's extremely quick driver. He's right up there with the top guys. I was keeping a very close eye on the way that he comes into the corners. There's a very different style between the top three, between Foster, Dean van der Zart, and Andrew Scott. And with Foster, it does seem to be more of a yank the steering wheel and get the thing to turn in. Use the mechanical grip to really turn in, which is a great way of getting good qualifying pace and great pace out of the car. It means you don't have to worry about too much about trail braking. You can really just throw it in, get on the throttle really early because you can trust that the car is getting in there. But with Dean van der Zart and Andrew Scott behind, they're much smoother into the corners, and it's compromising a little bit of their apex speed and a little bit of their exit speed, but it'll be really working out in terms of the tyres. A little bit of a move there, trying to look on the outside of the bus stop. That's very dangerous territory. But, oh, and a little bit of contact there, it looks like. And Matthew Joynson's going to go for a slide.
He's
What
drifting
control!
What a save there by Matthew Joynson. I'm taking bow, son. That was absolutely incredible there. That's a great, and you know, like we said plenty of times throughout the whole season, if you can drift an Audi TT that is front wheel drive and a front engine, I'll give my hats off to you. I'll buy you a beer, Matthew Joynson, because that was absolutely incredible going through the outer loop there. That was a pure class drift, but saved it, but very crucial there to hold that because now he's compromised himself and he's got a huge gaggle of cars right behind him in Scott Taylor and Aiden Sampson and PJ McKenzie in 8th, 9th and 10th.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to cost him a bit in terms of tyre life, that's for sure. But, you know, Matthew Joynson, he's another one who's very smooth on the entry. He knows that he has to manage the tyres very, very carefully, especially at a track like this where there's a lot of load being put into the cars and a few people running a bit wide there, trying to use a little bit too much of the track. I believe that was Aiden Sampson actually in the background. So he'll have dirty tyres now as they go through turn 15 and onto the pit straight. Once again, it is lap 6. So we've got another 17 laps to go in this final round of the Trak Racer TCR Cup. Great start so far. And the top three looking very, very strong and pulling away from the rest of the pack. And this battle is getting closer and closer and closer. With Foster, he's starting to fall back into the grasps of Dean van der Zart and Andrew Scott.
Yeah, I was looking through my second monitor there that these three are absolutely running away, but you can definitely see van der Zart and Scott really applying the pressure to Foster. So maybe Foster's really worn those tyres up a little bit. As you said, the driving styles do take a big difference. So we can see van der Zart and Ando have actually really closed the gap on Foster. So Foster might have to manage his tyres just a little bit more, hold these guys up for a few more laps before he puts on a set of medium tyres, or if he indeed throws on another set of softs. We'll find out soon as we go on board with our championship leader and our championship unofficial champion here at Trak Racer TCR Cup, Andrew Scott in 3rd place, running underneath the rear wing of that CP Motorsports entry there. So close there, so close between those drivers. What caliber drives there? We can see Foster's just run onto the grass there. That'll compromise his exit, and that's going to give van der Zart an opportunity to go for an inside move there. He's going to pull up onto the brakes. Takes the inside move. Does he make a move on the exit of the heel? He does, but he loses 2 positions there. Does Foster? He might potentially drop back. He has. Looking in that rear vision mirror there. Foster from 1st to 3rd. Van der Zart goes a little bit deep there, going on the exit of turn 11. So very, very close quarters here. Ando is looking the likely successor here. He's going to go from 3rd to potentially 1st if he can keep underneath that rear wing of the CP driver.
Great awareness there from Andrew Scott to see that Foster was going to run wide in that corner. He had dirty tyres on the left-hand side, which are exactly the tyres that you need to use through the heel and turn 8. So unfortunately for him, for Foster, that's really not worked out, and he's already dropped back a couple of seconds off of the back of Ando. So yeah, great stuff there from the overtakers, both Dean van der Zart and Ando. Very clean stuff from Dean van der Zart. But now, yeah, it's all to play for P1. I think we're absolutely spot on with Foster's tyres. I'm taking a little look at the timing screens here. Yeah, I don't think he's got the tyres. I don't think there was a tyre difference between these three. A big overspeed run here from Andrew Scott. Thinks better of it, though. Gets off the accelerator. Very wise. Yeah.
Very wise head has Andrew Scott there. So he's a pilot in real life, so he takes decision making very seriously. So that's a very good decision there by Scott. Just sit behind there, save some tyres, save a bit of fuel. and just really take advantage of Van der Zandt, who's now leading the race here at Watkins Glen for the final round of the Trak Racer TCR Cup. It is Division 1, and Van der Zandt from CP Motorsports leads the way on lap 8 of 23. Andrew Scott, the Cooke development driver, in second place, lead the team boss, and Foster's got himself a 2.5 penalty. Oh, that's a big crucial moment there. How far will this drop him down to the likes of Lansdale in 4th place? I think Lansdale's a little bit too far back there. Yeah, he's just exited the toe now, going into this boot section. And yeah, he's too far back. So unfortunately for Lansdale, he's really struggling. Once he made that move on, once he got the overtake done on Joinson, he hasn't really been able to close up on the top 3. So he's maybe just, again, he might be just saving tires, maybe saving a bit of fuel, and maybe going for a bit of a shorter sprint on those soft tires at the end of the race there, because he's got a lot of work to do. Andrew Scott's looking for an inside move on turn 12. He's going to go for an outside onto turn 13, leading onto the pit straight. A bit of a switch back between the two drivers there. He's got a better exit. Looks like he's got better tires than Van der Zandt. Will he pull up? No, he doesn't. He's tucking underneath that slipstream of the rear wing of the CP driver. Does he go for a move going into the 9 degree? No, he doesn't. Dean runs a little bit deep there. Ando just has to compromise a little bit more brake pressure on the car 787. He's now just tucked underneath that rear wing. It's getting heated here, George, and I can see a move brewing very soon.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. This is really interesting. That was very close on the pit straight, and even closer now, because I think he'll have a little look. No, thinks better once again, so he's quite happy to run in the dirty air of Dean Van der Zandt to say, look, you use the tires, I'll hang out back here and save the tires for a little bit later in the race. That was probably one of the better overtaking opportunities he's had on Dean Van der Zandt, but absolutely no eagerness from Drew Scott at all to get into first place. I think he's eyeing up the position, that's for sure, but at the moment it's really on Dean Van der Zandt to find a way to pull a gap. But we all know how difficult it's going to be to pull a gap on that 787 car. These Cooke driver development guys been doing very well, but it's not to take anything away from the rest of the competitors. All the guys who have been driving around Andrew Scott and the Cooke driver development team have been doing a fantastic job this season to bring us some real action. And yeah, this is going to be a brilliant series of corners, I think, for Andrew Scott. He's just taking it nice and easy. That's the way to do it.
He looks very comfortable, though. He looks very comfortable sitting underneath that rear wing. He's not really putting too much stress on his tires, and we know Van der Zandt's a very good conservative driver with his tires as well. We've seen throughout the Player 1 GT3 Championship. We saw it in the first season of the Surefire Supercar Series, and now even the Trak Racer TCR Cup. His tire saving has been more or less matching Andrew Scott in that car 132. So he's basically kind of found a rival, you could say, has Ando Scott, to be able to match him on tires, in speed, and but potentially the key thing as well needs to be strategy. So who will come in first? I can see the leaderboard has changed there. Ando's gone back, has now taken the lead of Van der Zandt in second place there. You can just see that. He looks like he definitely made the move into turn 1, but he's just picked up a second penalty. He has Van der Zandt. Oh, he's just run wide on the exit of the 90-degree corner, and that loses him P2. Potentially could lose that P2 to Robert Foster in third place. We'll find out very soon. But Ando Scott, as we've said throughout the whole season, has taken the lead here in the TCR Cup, sponsored by Trak Racer, the 787 Cooke driver. How does he do it, George?
I'm not sure, actually. I got to be honest with you. I keep thinking I know, but every time I think I know, I suddenly have to pinch myself and go, nope, that's probably not it. It's some sort of, intelligence-induced high-altitude thing, I suspect, to get on the planes and as a pilot. There's something to do with that, I get the feeling. But yeah, no, it's some supreme work there from Andrew Scott. He didn't have to do much. He just had to wait for both Foster and Dean Van der Zandt to get a penalty. So the pressure on those two drivers just, obviously, just a little bit too much. Having a driver who's 2 meters behind you for the entire lap, for the first 10 laps of this race, is a lot of pressure to deal with as a driver. So I think that, that pressure eventually starts to build up, and you start to push a little bit harder, especially when your lap times start to drop a little bit. Dean Van der Zandt doing a 155 in both of the previous laps. So that additional pressure that he had certainly started to add up on him, and he's ended up making an unforced error, unfortunately. I'm unlucky we didn't get to see the actual overtake, but I think you're absolutely right that he ran wide into turn 1. And look at the gap. I think Andrew Scott's now just gone, great. clean air, first position. Let's put the foot down.
Yeah, absolutely. There we can see he was very consistent, was Van der Zandt, sitting behind Robert Foster, sitting the 1 minute 53s into the 154s. But yeah, just definitely that last lap, just 1 minute 57 there after serving that 1 second penalty there. Lapse of concentration, and that's what happens, unfortunately. You lose concentration and you lose the lead. And you know, if you lose the lead to Ando Scott, it's just saying, all you have to do is just say bye-bye. I'll see you at the finish line, I guess.
Yep, the 787 has got clearance to take off, and there we go, seeing it fly off up to 25,000 feet. And goodbye, see you at your destination, which is the finish line, sadly. That does seem to be the case. I've commentated on a number of races now with Andrew Scott, and of course, he's in the GT3 champs as well, I believe he's at the... you might have to correct me on that one, Nick, but nonetheless, he's just been dominant in the MotorMotion E-Series, a present... someone who's present at all the races, and of course now involved in being a team owner as well. So yeah, very good job from him.
A lot of work behind that Cooke driver development that, as you said, was brought up by Andrew Scott, and he brought on a development driver in Mick Hill in Division 2, and you know he's worked his magic, he's worked wonders on being able to get Mick Hill where he is today in Division 2. We'll find out very soon if Cooke can bring all 3 trophies tonight. If they can, that'll be an absolutely amazing achievement for his debut series and his brand new team in Cooke driver development. So we'll keep an eye on that once Division 2 rolls over. But I'm looking down here, I can see Tyler Lansdale's dropped down to P7 out of all of this. So as we've been focusing on the top 3, I failed to notice that Tyler Lansdale has dropped all the way down to P7. So he must be either really struggling, picking up penalties, maybe just making a few mistakes, lapse of concentration, but he's really falling down the order here, and he's really losing tyres. And I think he is losing tyres pretty quickly because he can't even keep to the back of Samson and Scott. So he's really struggling in this late stage. Maybe those medium tyres, maybe use those mediums a little bit too much. And now they're starting to see the side effects of worn tyres and, you know, basically turning left and turning right around here in the front.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm not sure if he's on softs or mediums at this stage. You're probably right that he's on mediums that are now starting to degrade. But if he's on the soft tyre, that would explain a bit of early pace. This is the point where they will start to drop off quite significantly. So maybe the medium runners of Scotty and Aiden just starting to run away with it. But that does mean that eventually you'll have dying softs on both of these cars with medium running Tyler Lansdale. I think there's an interesting point to make here about the tyres at this track, because with so many straights, well, I mean, there's a fair amount of corners as well, obviously, a little bit wide there for Aiden, but with so many straight lines, there's probably not as big a difference between the medium tyres and the soft tyres in overall pace, especially throughout a stint. I guess we're going to see, but I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll find out and see. We're on lap 12 of 23. We're just about to cross 11 and a bit laps to go here as we see Tyler Lansdale. Oh, looks
that
like
was a penalty.
Nasty there.
Yeah, that was a penalty.
There you go.
Oh,
so
that's...
Oh, he's just blocking from Kane Patterson from making a move there. That was a little bit dangerous there on Tyler Lansdale. So I think for him, it is really time to get into that pit lane and really just get out of this, because looks like he's just losing a bit of concentration. Once he lost that 5th place to Matthew Johnson, he's just really been falling down the order here as Tyler Lansdale. So this is definitely not the performance that we've seen throughout the whole TCR campaign, where he's basically been consisting himself inside that top 4, top 5 throughout the whole season here, George. And we're seeing him down in 8th place, a position that we're not familiar seeing the AAA driver.
That's right, and into the pits we did see Andrew Scott. He was on the medium tyre. Tyler, Peyton and Foster as well, also in, all on the medium tyres. So yeah.
Foster was on the mediums. Wow, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
His pace was strong enough to be on the soft tyres, but if his pace was very strong on the mediums, maybe this is something that we can be interested in seeing when it comes to the soft tyre pace. Maybe he might be able to challenge Ando. He
could do, yeah. And the soft running now for the last 10 laps of this race. But it's very interesting as well, because that exacerbates the argument that we were making about the smoothness of the driving and how much life you're taking out of the tyres at what time. It is a pretty hot track around here at Watkins Glen. Not only do you have high degradation, but you also end up in a situation where the track, it's very high in temperature. So it takes a lot out of the tyres. If you're not careful, if you're not looking after those tyres, even the mediums will wear out pretty quickly. quickly. I mean, they're supposed to last easily 13 or 14 laps if you can really manage them. But we saw everyone just using them up a little bit more. So maybe the track temperature's a little bit hotter here today than we thought, Nick. Looking back in the field, in position 11, that is Peyton. And we've got the beautiful 575 car here of Cooper. Down the field a little bit as well. And of course, with a 33-second penalty. That's a pit lane penalty there, unfortunately.
So 30 seconds for Ward there. That's very, very unfortunate there. So he's well down the order there, 13th last place. It looks like we've lost a connection with the driver. I believe the connection was Gao. He had to come in for a retirement, unfortunately. So Nick Gao, in his last season for the privateer Cooke sponsored driver, who are our tyre suppliers here at Trak Racer TCR Cup. Unfortunately, the privateer and the Cooke sponsored driver has retired and come in with a bit of a fault in his car, and the team's just said to him, "No, you're going to have to box in." And unfortunately, that's his race over. But we can see Matthew Johnson now take the lead away for car 777. So we can see there, Van der Zandt, Taylor, Samson, Nax, and Adard all on the medium tyres. So I've been thinking of this the wrong way here, George. I've been thinking all this time that the leaders in both Foster, Ando, and Foster were all on the soft tyres, because the pace that they had over the rest of the field was absolutely stunning. The pace was incredible by all drivers, and they've just come out of nowhere and they just said to us, you know, we're on the medium tyres, you know, we're not on soft tyres, so watch our soft tyre running in these next 10 laps.
Yeah, really interesting. It looks like the entire field has decided to start on the medium tyre. So yeah, our guesswork, which turns out, you know, it's a prophecy that turned out to be false in this case, was completely wrong. It's the reverse commentator's curse, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I think I definitely think Johnson is going to be coming into the pit lane very shortly. He doesn't want to lose too much time around here, because if you stay out for too long, not only will he will lose his P5 where he was sitting before the pit window, before all the drivers made their pit stops. He could potentially drop down well outside the top 8 if he's not careful, if he's able to put on those soft tyres at the end there and really have a short sprint compared to the other drivers, where they have about 2-3 laps worn tyres, and that makes a difference when it comes to lap pace. We'll be keeping our eye on Matthew Jones at the Juice Motorsports car 777. We'll wait and see if he comes into the pit lane. He's coming through to the last corner now, so whether he's slowing his car down to get into the pit lane, no, he's going for another lap here. Oh no, he's actually come in now, so another driver on the medium tyres. So there we go. Matthew Johnson in the pit lane with 8% of fuel there, so has to sit in the pit lane a little bit longer than some of the other drivers. Obviously running the tank out to the minimum and really just trying to put in that fuel in as quickly as he can, not to lose too much time there. He's come out on everyone's favourite number in on 69, will potentially be on the soft tyres here. But PJ McKenzie as well, doing a very nice job there. Obviously hasn't made his pit stop yet. Car 221. We'll wait and see when he comes into the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So he actually has already come into the pit lane. He pitched on lap 8, so he was actually one of the only people on the grid that started on the soft tyre, and now he's on the mediums, being chased down by Dean van der Zandt. So this is actually for position right now. This is for P2. So Road Racing has come out of nowhere once again.
Yeah, absolutely right there. And we called it at the start of the broadcast. Road Racing flying under the radar in the team's championship and really propel themselves up into P3. And Peter McKenzie's performance has been doing absolutely spectacular there. Unfortunately, we'll lose the position to Van der Zandt coming into the bootleg section. Van der Zandt makes that position well clear of Peter McKenzie. So he's been on lap 8. So he's on lap 15. So I'm thinking very soon he might come into the pit lane. I think he'll definitely be on the soft tyres, because you can definitely see the pace is very strong, but then the lap times start getting bigger and bigger after every lap. So I definitely would think he's on the soft tyres. And I can see that behind there, Robert Foster was pulling off to the right-hand side, so he must have picked up a second penalty, unfortunately, there. So
indeed.
What could have been? What could have been for Foster? Leading the race early on, unfortunately used his tyres up a little bit too much. He's got some pace. We can see there in the fastest lap. He has set it with a 1 minute 53.009. He's got the overall pace, but he's just missing something when it comes for race pace.
Yeah, it's that's going to be a point of contention, I think, for post-race discussions. What happened to Foster over the course of the season? But he's been racing fantastically well. Can't take anything away from him. But obviously, the tyre life management has been something that he's struggled with throughout the season. He should be able to catch up with Mackenzie here as well, especially if Mackenzie needs to make another pit. And it's a good point. I was thinking actually that Mackenzie was doing some unbelievable lap times on the medium tyre. You know, being in the mid 53s is very, very impressive for medium pace over such a long stint. But you're right. I think he's gonna have to pit once more. He'll be probably on the soft tyre at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on Mackenzie though, because that's very interesting. But in true privateer style, in true Taylor style, he is up into 5th once again and running strong. He'll be running to the end of this race, and he's setting some great lap times, 53.795. So continuing his run of excellent performances as a privateer in the TCR Cup, it is GLR Scotty once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how he does. I don't know how he's done it all this season, George. It's been absolutely incredible just to watch Taylor's progress from round 1 all the way up to round 7. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Really struggled. Really didn't really feel comfortable with the cars in the early stages, but really got his head down after the Laguna Seca race, and yeah, that's where he picked up his form. So that's where he got himself onto the podium for the first time back at Laguna Seca, and now potentially he might be running himself into a very nice position inside the top 5. Obviously, awaiting Mackenzie's pit lane entering for the last time. As you can see, Lansdale going for a move on Matthew Johnson there, makes the move stick on those soft tyres as well. We have to keep in mind that Matthew Johnson has soft tyres as well, but he's got fresher soft tyres than Lansdale. I think Lansdale and Ando were one of the first drivers to come into the pit lane, and Johnson waited 3 more laps before he came into the pit lane. So watch for that watch out for that 777 in the latter laps. We're on 16 of 23. We're about to approach 7 more laps of racing to go, and I just saw a little glimmer there of the glimpse on the leaderboard. We have Mackenzie in the pit lane, as we predicted, on the soft tyres, throwing in the fuel and about to throw on his mediums for his compulsory pit stop.
A little bit of a splash and dash there from Mackenzie. So unfortunately not the amazing dream comeback drive that we thought might have been going on, at least initially. I thought he might have just jumped onto the mediums there and gone for a longer stint, but of course he would have been falling down the positions anyway, especially to these fast, late-running soft tyres that are on these cars at the moment. Great views from the rear vision mirror at the moment. Looks like Matthew Johnson's going to have a bit of a run here, and it takes a few laps to really activate the tyres and get them into the window that you need them to be in. So Tyler, obviously having pitted a little bit earlier than Matthew Johnson, is going to have much...
Look at the grip. Look at the grip that Johnson's got. He's going for an inside move here. It's on the outer loop. It's absolutely incredible. Side by side, Johnson just lost the position to Lansdale, but he's now gaining time back onto the tyres that finally switched on. Is he going to go for an outside move coming into the bootleg? Surely not. No. It's a very off-camber corner there, so running the outside line is not really the preferred line. You have to tuck back in underneath the rear wing, especially this corner as well, the toe going into this bootleg. You can't really run the car wide because you can see the gradient and the change of line there. You can see where the pavement is, where all the rubber is on the inside line. So once you step out of that, you'll just lose all sorts of grip there. And fortunately enough for Johnson, he's clever. He's been able to pull off a little bit, and he's now just tucked underneath rear wings. To see Lansdale run really wide there. Won't be surprised if he actually picks up a penalty for running over the limits. No, he's gone away with it. So very lucky. He can count his lucky stars, Ken Lansdale in 5th place, but Scott Taylor in 4th place, doing a fantastic job there. But Lansdale all under pressure from both Johnson and Sampson.
I think Tyler can go and thank the stewards later on for that one, actually. It was almost certainly was across the line, but must have been just a millimetre in it. Of course, all the stewards have a much, much better camera view of these finer detailed things on track than we do. But yeah, it's a very interesting point you were making there. It's, that is wide though.
Oh yeah, unfortunately that could be a penalty there. He just ran a little bit wide there, saw the tyres, that right-hand side of the tyre, and there you go. So that's unfortunate there. He won't lose 1, he'll lose 2 positions there. But what I did take notice of there, if nobody knows on how effective fresher tyres are compared to worn tyres, Go back and watch lap 17 of 23 in the battle between Lansdale and Joynson. The grip advantage, the braking advantage that he had, the turn in coming in through the bus stop, the entry into the outer loop. It's incredible. The tire difference between the two. If you ever want a lesson on what mechanical grip and what tire life is all about, you watch that lap there and you can see the benefits of having fresher tires.
Yeah, it's a fascinating little subject, actually, because this is exactly what we don't really notice much in the GT3 class of cars, because they've got so much aero that you don't really know how much the drivers are leaning on the aero and using that versus using the mechanical grip. But here in the Audi TCR Cup, and there's the penalty being served by Tyler, and he will drop down behind Aiden Sampson and Matthew Joynson. But as I was saying, here in the Audi TT Cup, there's very little aero on these cars to really keep them pinned through the corners. So they end up using a lot less aero and much, much more tire life and tire grip. And that's exactly what we saw through the outer loop. It was the tire life that needs to be used. So this also comes down to managing the tire life, because if you maximize the tire life, like we saw Matthew Joynson doing there to make the move happen on Tyler, or the attempted move, I should say, you do use a lot of those tires. You can't do that 2 or 3 laps in a row.
No, absolutely not. So, and it's all about tire preservation here, as we can see ahead. It could be a very fascinating battle towards the end on lap 23 between Taylor and Joynson. As you can see, that just runs a little bit wide going into the 9-degree corner, and that loses him just a little bit of time to Aiden Sampson. So Aiden Sampson got a little bit more run, a little bit more. It will have a bit more of an effective slipstream. But this is a section where it gets really tricky here, because he can't make a move unless he makes a move nice and early. Sticks the nose in. Oh, he almost goes for it. Does Aiden Sampson there, and that's the really hardest part. When a driver makes a move on the exit of the 90-degree corner, if you run wide and the car behind you is right underneath your rear wing, as soon as you get up to that uphill section, there's no room to go, because it's all a one line going through there until you get onto that back straight.
Ooh, that was very close there through the outer loop, but the door gets shut, and that's a really good point, actually. I wanted to raise this up earlier, but there is really only one line through the majority of these corners, and there's very few overtaking opportunities unless you are literally side by side coming into one of the corners after the straights. So, you know, it presents a challenge, like exactly here where we are with these two. There is only one line through the toe, and if you go wide, you're in the marbles and you're losing a ton of grip, and then you're going to get a bad exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, as you start going up the hill onto the back straight, if you follow the driver, you're just waiting. You want to say, like, is there an opportunity to go left? Is there an opportunity to go right? Can I make the move before we get onto the back straight? No, I can't. Why? Because it is very narrow. As soon as you get onto that uphill section, the barriers are just there. There's left and it's right. You can't fit 2 cars there unless you have actually made a move going into turn 1, because after that, you're just going to have to wait patiently before the bus stop. And unfortunately there for Sampson, he almost presented himself an opportunity on Joynson there. Unfortunately, now he's just dropped a little bit further back now. He's got a little bit of breathing air between them, between P5 and P6. So just maybe cooling down the tyres, and maybe we'll try for another attack there. As you can see there, the entry into turn 1 is much superior on the Diffusion driver car 21 there. So we'll wait and see if he can use that slipstream and potentially make a move going into the bus stop. But the race has been absolutely flying here. You can see Andrew Scott is already about to approach. He's already in the infield section, as we can see there. Van der Zandt and Foster are just coming onto the outer loop. So the dominance that he's been having is incredible. Sampson trying to go phase Joynson into an inside move there, goes onto the outside, compromises his run through the bus stop, pins the car on the outer loop there. But you can see that the grip that Joynson has on those fresher rubber is really helping him so much there. And you can see there Joynson taking a bit of a different line coming into the section into the infield. So he's really just trying to go for a bit of a wide approach and have a late apex. I've seen it on these couple of gradient corners as well. He's not really taking that inside line there. We can see drivers really go for like what we could say like a V shape or a U shape, where they just cut in the first part, they go wide, and then they cut in for a late apex. Or you can see drivers running the wide line and then taking that late apex. So there's very different lines here, because all the corners have their own gradients and they have their own uniqueness around the circuit.
And this is a very important battle going on here for Aiden Sampson specifically, because for Diffusion Race Engineering, they're currently in 4th in the team's title, and they're only about 13 points off the back of 3rd place, which is Road Sick Racing, who are, at least in this division at the moment, a little bit further off the field, with Mackenzie's fallen a bit further down due to his double pit stop strategy. So for Aiden Sampson and Diffusion Race Engineering, this is absolutely critical in the championship. If he can get that 5th position off Matthew Joinson, well, GLR Scotty's not that far ahead on the field, but with the amount that he's pushing so far and then running in the dirty air of Matthew Joinson, I don't think he's going to quite have the range to get P4, but heck, you take the P5 points any day of the week with Diffusion Race Engineering being that close to a P3 finish in the team's title. A very important battle going on here.
100% there.
Yes, but we will actually quickly go around the grid and just get an update from the entire grid as this battle has cooled down just a little bit. So looking back, we've got Tyler Lansdale sitting in P7. We've got Nax for Ned's Racing, the 66 car. He's sitting in P8 at the moment. We've got Shane Attard, who we had hopes for to climb up the grid a little bit during this race. He hasn't managed to do that so far in P9. PJ McKenzie having a great move into the bus stop there on Peyton. So good stuff there for Road Sick Racing. That will help them in the team's title. Again, this is the key thing. Any points that McKenzie can claw back, if he can catch up with the group between 9th and 6th and make some overtakes in the last 2 laps of this race, it's a tough challenge, but it could work. Peyton in P11, then we've got Ward, who's gained a position on Renegade, who's sitting in P13, but of course, in P1 it is Andrew Scott out to a fantastic lead with Dean van der Zart behind him in P2, and then Foster holding on to a solid P3 at the moment.
I was actually looking back there at Peter McKenzie's lap time. He's on the medium tyres and he set himself a 1:53 flat. So that's a very strong pace for a late race pace. Yes, he's on lighter fuel and better tyres than the rest of the field there, but you have to remember he's on the medium tyres. He did run them, so medium pace running on a low fuel. I will give credit to him. That's a very strong lap there, very competitive lap there by Peter McKenzie, who's sitting in 9th place. And as you said, the points that he can gain will be very crucial because he's got his teammate in Ben Churchill to do all to play for, to challenge for that to keep that P3 for Road Sick Racing. But then again, as you said, Diffusion Race Engineering have got a bit of a mammoth task in this latter half.
And something has happened to Aiden Sampson because Tyler Lansell has gotten ahead of him.
Something's here. So he set a 1:57.2. So that could have been potentially a bit of maybe a penalty or something. Maybe just ran wide on one of the corners. So very unfortunate for him there. So he's really, really unfortunate. Dropped well down the order there. He's got a good gap over Nax, so he's not going to be any potential threat at all there in P7. But what I am getting word of is Car 888 in the Track Stars Racing is the front tyres are gone on Car 888. So they are right on the rim here, and he's really struggling to get this car hooked around there. You can see that. Look at the gap that he's losing to Johnson. Look at the gap that Sampson's closing in. Car 888 is running on the rims here with only 1.5 laps to go here. This will be the hardest 1.5 laps to be able to keep P6 because he's losing ground to Johnson, but Sampson is closing back pretty quickly and he's bringing Nax with him. So there's a lot bit more to go. Tyler Lansdale just needs to pray that the checker flag comes shortly, and he just runs it onto the grass there. You can just see that the tyres are gone on Car 888. Runs it very wide onto the grass. Dust kicking up in the air, and unfortunately he's really going to struggle to pull it up here. He's losing all the grip and all the understeer there. Sampson's going to try and take back P6 after making a mistake on the previous lap there. Lansdale's going to hug the inside line, go trying to fight Sampson for it, but he can't. He's got no grip, George.
Oh dear, I didn't see him hit a single apex this entire lap. There's one right there. But yeah, poor Tyler, he is running on absolutely no tyres. In fact, we are at the stage where we are getting told by the pit lane crew that we should be looking at the telemetry. They're going to show it on screen now. So let's go through the grid and see who is on what kind of tyre and what the state of their tyres is. Let's have a quick look at that because this is going to be fascinating, I think. So Nick, take us through. Oh, wow. Here we go.
Yeah. So you can see there, Sampson has got some good tyre life, but we dropped down to Lansdale. So if my predictions were right, and from the commentaries, there you go. That front left absolutely gone, and to top it off, a 1 second penalty next to his name on the final lap as well. So that has all gone down, unfortunately, the wrong way. Nax has lost his tyres on the front left as we look down to 9th place in Shane Adder, the Trak Race Tech.
Does anyone have tyres?
He's got no tyre life. Let's go to... We know Mackenzie's got some fresh tyres. He's got the freshest tyres out of everyone. He's on the soft tyres. He must have run the medium tyres. As you said on a previous stint, Patton on the medium tyres, Renegade in 12th place.
Oh, he's got some tyres.
He's got some tyres. What about Ward, the controller driver? He's got some tyres. He must have made an extra pit stop. But as we go on to the start finish straight, as we come to this last section, Andrew Scott is really starting to run out of tyres. But this is the lap that you want to run out of tyres on, the final lap here. And I will have to say here, what a season, what a race, what a great battle that he's been having all race long here. And for the final time here for the Trak Racer, it is going to go to Andrew Scott, the 787 Me Cooke driver development driver from 7 out of 7. Take victories here for the final round here. Dean van der Zandt, well done to him in position 2, getting CP Motorsports back up into the podium after missing out last time out. And Robert Foster is just running out of tyres as well. 3rd place, just holds off Scott Taylor, who's not far behind there, sitting in 4th place there. He's also run out of tyres, so everyone is running out of tyres. You could say, yeah, the best drivers are at the back of the grid there, George. And wow, I mean, you have to give it to Ando starting P3, really just conserving his tyres, playing a different strategy. But the strategy's worked out to perfection. 3rd to 1st and 7 on the trot.
I think he needs to replace that 8 in his number with a slash. 7 out of 7 is his number going forward. But yeah, it's been a dominant season there from Andrew Scott. Absolutely top stuff from him. And I think that will probably secure him the Drivers' Championship in Div1 as well. And we're going to be compiling the results very, very soon. In fact, we've got them coming up momentarily, so we will switch over to our slides. But congratulations to everyone in Div1. Fantastic racing right on the edge of these TCR Cups capabilities. And it is, as you can see here, the race results. We'll go through these first as we do get a little bit of time to compile the final results for Division 1. But Andrew Scott for Me Cooke Driver Development run away with it today. Great stuff from him. Dean van der Zandt, a very good performance from the CP Motorsports driver, 42 points. Robert Foster will take home for Mad Total Rating, 35 points. And then the privateer, this is one of his top results of the season. It is Scott Taylor there, our privateer. Matthew Jointson, unfortunately, fell 1 position in this race after a good qualifying. 25 points for him. And then Aiden Sampson, this is going to be critical for the team's title. And hopefully he's got enough points there for Division Race Engineering to leap them up into 3rd place ahead of Roasted Racing. But then Naki Nax for Ned Racing will take home 18 points, and that's halfway through our grid.
Yeah, but look at the man that's in 8th place there, George. Tyler Lansdell running out of tyres 2 laps before the checkered flag and getting himself a 1-second penalty. That has really hurt his race here tonight, and that's actually his worst. That's actually not his best performance and not his best result in this Trak Racer TCR Cup. He's been compiling a lot of 3rds, 2nds, and 4ths. 8th is his worst. So I don't know. Will he be able to keep P3 in this drivers' championship? Because look at where Van der Zandt is, and look where Foster is. Look at the points difference that those 2 boys have compared to what Tyler Lansdell has. It is going to be ultra close between those 3 drivers and who takes out 2nd overall and 3rd. It'll be very close. We'll find out very shortly. But running through the rest of the grid, Shane Adard with 14 points next to his name. So good points there. Unfortunately, not able to challenge Scott Taylor for his position in the championship. And then Peter McKenzie inside the top 10 after running a 2-stop strategy. Patton in 11th place for the Extreme Motorsports entry the Kiwi team. Kevin Cooper for ISA Esports. Ian Ward for RoboSport Racing. And unfortunately, the DNF in Nick Gow, the privateer driver, in 14th place. So
yeah, I just got my calculator out. I think he's going to lose a position here. There is currently in the current standings 21 points between P2 and P3. That's Tyler in P2 and Robert Foster in P3. I think, if my math is right, there is about 21 points in this right now, the difference between this result, which is exactly the difference on the standings. This is going to be really interesting. I am hearing from the broadcast team that we have got the results compiled for Division 1. So get ready, folks. These are your standings for Division 1 at the end of the first season of the Trak Racer TCR Cup. Let's have a little look. Oh, and Tyler managed just to stay ahead of
just hold
Robert
on.
Foster. That is incredibly close. All right, Nick, take us through this incredible season result.
I mean, we can't really explain what a season it's been. Andrew Scott, the Me Cougar, driver development lead driver in 787, 407, maximum points, maximum fastest laps, really pushing that car to the absolute limit where no driver could. Andrew Scott is well ahead on 407 and is the Division 1 Trak Racer TCR champion for Season 1 of the MotorMotion E-Series campaign. And then very good recovery drive there. And that's a big name moving up into P2. Vandersen from 4th to 2nd. That is a big jump after what was a disappointing round 6 2 weeks ago. So Vandersen up into P2, a much better performance there for the CP Motorsports driver. And Tyler Lansdale, he'll be counting his lucky stars here tonight to be holding on to P3, just 2 points clear of Robert Foster in 4th place. And then we have Scott Taylor, done a very good job there, the privateer driver in 5th place. Shane Addard, really gave Scott Taylor a good run for his money. Unfortunately, that race didn't work out for the Trak Race Tech driver and finishes in 6th. And then Naki Nax in 7th place. And then Peter McKenzie, as we saw there, really trying to get those points for the team. He's finished P8, but the team's championship is where it matters. And we'll find out at the end of Division 2 where the team's championship lies. But so far, the points are going to Me Cougar, who have already sealed the Division 1 and the team's championship. But the big question is, can Mick Hill in Division 2 take that car to victory lane, and can he make a 3 out of 3 titles for the Me Cougar driver development? We'll find out very shortly.
We certainly will, and yeah, what an end to a season for Division 1. Congratulations to all the participants here, all 15 of you. You've done a fantastic job. You've represented your teams incredibly well, and be very, very proud. No matter where you finished on the grid here, you have been the best, hashtag be the best, and you have done very, very proud for your teams and for yourselves. And yeah, what a great way to finish the MotorMotion E-Series Trak Racer TCR Cup. Watkins Glen's a fantastic place, but Nick, we've got some great racing ahead of us, even more, so stay tuned. Everyone who's live in the grandstand, thank you all for joining us in the grandstand, of course, and I think we'll talk driver of the day, maybe just very, very quickly, Nick, and then we're going to go to a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back with the Division 2 coverage, so stay tuned. But Nick, what do we reckon driver of the day here today?
I think it might be to no surprise to anyone here. I don't think it's actually won a driver of the day from all of us. I think we've just been too kind giving the other drivers in the field the driver of the day. But I'm going to give mine to Andrew Scott, starting P3, worked his way up into P1, had to do it the hard way. Didn't have a clean run towards. Wasn't expecting a clean run starting on pole position and running from lights to checkered flag. But Scott did the right thing. He's done well, progressed very nicely there, made the moves when he needs to make the moves, waited on opportunities that are presented to him. And once he got the lead, just ran away with it. Just great strategy call, great tyre life preservation, and really just outsmarting the drivers on pace and strategy. So, yeah, my driver of the day is going to go to Andrew Scott, who is the Division 1 champ.
Yep, and I couldn't agree more. And yes, we have been steering a little bit away from giving Ando the driver of the day. So it's about time we did give him one, especially after you get 7 out of 7 across a 14-week season. So that's a job well done there. But yeah, like I said, I think that is going to conclude our Division 1 coverage for Season 1. Please stay tuned on YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe if you've been enjoying the free broadcast tonight from MotorMotion E-Series. We will be back in 5 minutes for the Division 2 coverage. So stay tuned. Some more great racing coming up in the TCR Cup cars. We will catch you all in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back to the Trak Racer TCR Cup coverage of Round 7. It is Round 7 of 7, the finale you are watching right now. In the comm box is myself, George Cooke, and Nick Pautasso. Nick, we've had a fantastic race in Division 1 to seal up the championship there for Andrew Scott. Now it's time for one of our favorite divisions, one of two favorite divisions, of course. We like them both, but Division 2, it's a fiery competition that's going on. We're going to take everyone through the information very shortly, but Nick, this is going to be a great one.
I'm looking forward to this division, and what a way to finish the Trak Racer TCR Cup. Our favorite division, George. TCR Cup, Division 2. We love, as you said, we love Division 1. We love Andrew Scott. We love Robert Foster. We love Van der Zan and Lansdale. This is where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. The Division 2 is where all the money's coming, and that's where all the spectators love the Division 2 racing. We see it in all the support categories around the world. Everyone loves support categories. The main event is, you could just say is so-so. So will be something interesting to see coming forward when we present ourselves later in the year with the Surefire Supercar Series, which will be coming up in the next 3 to 4 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned on the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel, where you will find all of the action, the live coverage of Lobby 1 of the Surefire Supercar. So that'll be interesting to see Season 2 come avail. But their drivers are out in qualifying, and so far it is the driver that is Mick Hill leading the championship after the last round there. The double points round has got him up into first place. So Mick Cougar in Mick Hill. Can he do what Andrew Scott did? Can he win the race? Can he even win the title? We'll find out very soon. Mitch Collin was the biggest loser in the last round. Unfortunately, he was leading the championship, and then going into this round, he's second place. So he's got all of it. He has to do everything he can to take back P1, but it's going to be a hard ask for Mitch Collin and Bundaberg Red Racing. In third place, Matt Kuchar, very clinical for this team's championship, as you said, between Road Sick Racing and Diffusion. Kuchar in third, and Ben Churchill right behind in fourth place. Ricky Rick tied on points with Sean Parker for Robo Sport Racing for fifth and sixth place. Charles Nathaniel in seventh, and then Tony Griffin rounding up the top 8. As we see the other half, Harrison in ninth, Hasseldine, Hamilton, and Foster, Karma Foster in 12th, SK Hoey in 13th, Troy Britnell in 14th, and Mark Karras, the latecomer, in 15th place. But it's going to be about those front drivers there, George. Who will take it out? The drivers are set, and they have finished their qualifying, as we are now getting word that we can see who is lining up on pole position for the final time here for round 7 of the Division 2 TCR Cup. And it is Mick Hill with the advantage here on pole position, with Ben Churchill in second place here, and Tony Griffin in third. So we're seeing ourselves a good mix-up in the grid here, with Mitch Collin in fourth, Churchill up into P2. We don't know where Kuchar ended up in qualifying, but that's a good positive start for the Road Sick driver.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting, because Ben Churchill as well has been flying up the field. That double points finish for him in round 6 really pushed him up the field a lot, and that's also why Hill ended up getting such a good advantage over the rest of the field. But in 5th position, Sean Parker for Robo Sport Racing is going to take out 5th position, and then Hamilton in 6th position. So Ricky Rick will take P7, and then Troy Britnell for 8th. So hold on, where's Matt Kuchar in all this? This is getting very interesting, because he's right up there for P3, but with Ben Churchill in P2, this is going to get very interesting. Was it P3 or P4? I can't actually remember.
Position two was Churchill, and there he is, Matt Kuchar, P10.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, we have Dylan Scarborough filling in for Charles Nathaniel in the ISA Esports entry in 9th place. So this is his debut race here in the Trak Racer TCR Cup. So he's out here for fun. He doesn't care about championships. So if he has to be a thorn and be a bit of a pain to Kuchar, he will. So it's all up to Kuchar to really get himself up the pointy end, because he needs to get himself ahead of Churchill. Otherwise, it could play a huge role in this championship fight in both teams and drivers. So fortunately, Kuchar's got a lot of work to do in P10. SK Hoey in 11th place, and then Mark Hasseldine inside 12th place. And then we have Karma Foster in 13th, and Stephen Harrison for CP Motorsports in 14th place. So what a shake-up to the grid! What a shake-up to the grid here, George. And didn't expect drivers to be in certain positions.
Certainly not. It's this is going to be great. This is going to be great racing because Matt Kutcher's got a lot of overtaking to do, so we're going to keep a close eye on him today. The cars have been pushed out to the grid. All the teams are now back in their pit lane areas. So, Nick, it is time for us to go racing in Division 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, buckle in your seatbelts because the best division is about to get started as we go down to the grid, and the lights are going out right now. So, let's see this happen. We've got 3 lights, we've got 4 lights, we've got 5 lights, and oh, there's been a jump start there already by P1. He's going to drop back immediately. Oh, great start there for everyone else. And oh, that's going to shake things up a huge amount. They're already going 3 wide, 4 wide into turn 1. Oh, this is going to get a bit spicy. Oh, but everyone's doing very well to get through there at the start. Crikey, Nora, that is a brilliant way to begin Division 2 coverage. Fantastic stuff. Hamilton up to P8. We've got Chop, Sean Parker in P7. Troy Brunel, he jumped to position 5 there. Colin has had a bit of a bad start. Oh,
look at Kutcher.
Oh, there we go.
10th to 3rd place. Wow, what an opening lap there that was by Matt Kutcher. Absolutely. How did he do that? I will never know. I'll have to go back and watch the replay myself.
He had 23 laps to do that.
He could have done it in 23 laps, but he did it at the opening corner here, George. 10th to 3rd. I'm gobsmacked. That is an absolute worldy position making there for Matt Kutcher for the Fusion Race entering, and this just shows what it means to Matt Kutcher. He's ahead of Mitch Collin, and he's trying to do what he can for the Fusion Race engineering and putting moves like that and making himself well known to the field that I've qualified in 10th, but I'm here to play. And P3, my goodness, it is incredible. That was an incredible start there by Matt Kutcher. And as we have Mick Hill leading the way, we did see there Churchill did get a bit of a bad start there. He was the driver that did false start, unfortunately, but he was saved there. He was saved by, I believe it was Tony Griffin that actually gave him a little bit of a hit there. So very similar to what we saw with Aidan Sampson in Division 1 there. Got a jump start and then luckily he got saved. He saved his bacon by getting a push from Nax. And so the same happened here for Tony Griffin, but that actually ruined Tony Griffin's progression. He's down to P7 after starting P3.
Yeah, he might have even picked up a little bit of front splitter damage from that contact that he had. And the back of the grid at the moment looking very, very feisty. It certainly was through those last few corners. They're still 2 by 2 as they will go into turn 1. A little bit of a wide line there for Hasseldine, but not too bad at all. I do love that livery. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I think, wow, I mean, for Matt Kutcher to go from 10th to 3rd position in 1 corner, essentially, was absolutely astonishing. And he's right behind Ben Churchill, who he's competing with for P3 in the overall standings. So that is a monumental start for Matt Kutcher. He's going to be absolutely stoked with that. He goes, thank you very much, everyone. Love the chaos, and I love to benefit from it, not to be on the other end of it.
Oh, and my goodness, seriously, I don't know how he's done it. I'm still gobsmacked. I'm still lost for words.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's incredible. But we've seen some good starts here as well from Troy Britnell in 5th place for Trak Racer, and even Dylan Scarborough, the late comer. Oh, as we can see, Britnell really drifting the car going into the infield section for the 2nd time on this 23-lap race. We can see Dylan Scarborough up into 5th place, and he's started in 9th place, so that he's made some positions himself. So Dylan Scarborough, the fill-in for Charles Nathaniel, doing a good job for Rise Esports in 5th place. And we can also see that Hasseldine has come up the order as well. So he started, keep an eye on him, he's in the opening couple of laps.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, a little bit of a technical issue there with our microphone system, but it's all good. We'll get that rectified very, very soon. But yeah, this is a great stuff. I think Dylan Scarborough might have followed Matt Kutcher through on that start. Whatever happened at the start, there was obviously some sort of inside line or being in the right place at the right time that caused both of them to jump up the grid significantly. Obviously, the most positions gained so far is Matt Kutcher. He's at +7 right now. That's absolutely astonishing stuff. But he's going to have to fight Colin. Colin, he'll be very, very keen to get a few more points today. At the moment, in the current position with Hill out to P1, although not a very dominating P1 at the moment, Colin's got a lot of work to get himself back up into the potential to get a victory here. And there would have to be something massively wrong with Hill's car during this race to drop him back enough so that Colin can actually take the driver's standing. So at the moment, as it stands right now, if we did the math and finished the race this lap, Right now, it would be Mick Hill running away with things, but Colin's still in it, and Cooke, he's going to potentially secure a P3 in the standings. And you know, I love this division, Nick, but there is something about having the guys whose first names begin with M as the top three, all still running in the top three. That is incredibly frustrating.
Absolutely right. Unfortunately, the bearer of that is unfortunately with Ben Churchill. So he's the only B in this group. There's unfortunately, and if it's like a B, it's an annoying insect. You just want to get rid of it, to be honest. So, he just needs to move. He just needs to get out of here. But yeah, Mick Hill, Ben Churchill, Cooke, and Colin, the top four in the championship, all occupying the top four in the race order so far, albeit in different orders compared to their championship, with Mitch Collin actually down in 4th place. So yes, as you said, that is a really big loss there for Mitch Collin. And you know, you got to think of this as well. From what we saw there as well, Kutcher is only 10 points behind Collin. So you have to keep that bear in mind. So if Collin can't get past Mick Hill, he could be coming under pressure from Kutcher, and Kutcher's out well ahead of him. If he can get past Ben Churchill in 2nd place, we could see a position swap in the drivers' championship. So don't rule your eyes out on that, because there's a lot of implications on who finishes where and where they will finish up at the end of this race in this championship, because things can change within a heartbeat here, and that's why we love Division 2, because all the drama that comes around this scene of racing, and it really just comes amongst the top 4 in the championship.
Yeah, and another thing to note here, with Ben Churchill out to P2 at the moment, for Trak Racing, that's going to really help them to secure that P3 in the team's title, with Aiden Sampson getting a better result. I think 3 or 4 positions a better result, but still far enough down that it's very low points in Division 1 for Diffusion Race Engineering. It hasn't really helped their championship bid to get P3 away from Trak Racing. So here we are, 3rd and 4th position for these teams. That's a lot of points for Diffusion Race Engineering and Trak Racing. So the outcome of these two's race is not only going to determine P3 in this Division 2 Drivers' Championship, but could also make a huge impact on the team's title, with Diffusion Race Engineering right now sitting in P3 in Division 2 in terms of the driver position, and Trak Racing, who are the dark horse of this competition, is currently sitting with Ben Churchill out in P2. So big points are at hand for those teams, and with only 13 points in it between them, this could have huge title implications.
I've been very impressed with Trak Racing this season in the Trak Racer TCR Cup. I mean, they've just come from out of nowhere, and they've been gathering the points. They've been quietly flying under the radar here. They've just been quietly chipping away. We saw some good performances with Peter McKenzie in Division 1. We've seen some better performances with Churchill in Division 2, and they've just been chipping all those points away. Everyone's just not really been keeping an eye on them, but you know, certainly at the end of it, on round 7, Churchill in 2nd place with McKenzie finishing inside the top 10, so as you said, crucial points for the team's championship. But we have Cooke in 3rd place, just behind Churchill, so he's got a little bit of work to do to get back up to move ahead of his rival in Churchill. But we could say as well here, Mick Hill hasn't really run away with this just yet, so he's not really able to extend his legs so far, and there's been a bit of a trend as well. Now that's why the Division 2 racing has been really strong, it's been really good, because all the top 4 in the championship are very relative in pace. They're all very similar, they're all similar pace, you know, setting lap times, trading lap times amongst each other, you know, trading strategies. Maybe potentially the Cooke strategy is just a little bit better than some of the Bundaberg or Trak Racing or Diffusion Race Engineering strategists. But you know, the pace difference is very much the same. They're running very similar pace as the top 4 in the championship and top 4 in the race. But as I do say, top 4 in the race, I can see there, Dylan Scarborough's now up into P4. So this is a huge result. This is a great performance here by the late substitute driver for Charles Nathaniel in the ISA Esports entry, doing a much better performance in car 22, unlike his unlikely his teammate in Kevin Cooper finishing in 12th place in Division 1. And Tony Griffin is on the charge back to get back up into that top 3, where he started in P3 and dropped all the way down to P10 at 1 point. So you could say more or less Kutcher and Griffin swapped in the opening corner.
Quite literally, yeah, quite literally. And Griffo, he's holding the fastest lap at the moment, a 1 minute 54.151. So he's got pace, and oh, that's a bit wide there from Dylan Scarborough. But yeah, Dylan Scarborough has been proving himself very, very good driver in Group B. He's a team owner of Scarborough Motorsport in the GD3 Cup. So it's a good choice for a stand-in here. For this team, and he's known to have some really, really good pace on him. A little bit wide there from Cooke. That's gonna, wow, this is getting very, very spicy because there's an overspeed here for Dylan, and he's not contending for this championship, but he's gonna have the inside line up into turn 1, and Griffo might just be able to follow him through if there's enough of a gap. Through goes Dylan Scarborough, not enough of a gap for Griffo to get through, and Cooke is going to stay side by side as they go up. The S is at the start. This is great racing between these two. Very fair, very respectful, and that's actually another thing to mention. Not only does Division 2 have some great similar pace, but they're also very, very respectful for the most part. We've seen that, and that's critical when you have similar pace. Look at this run. This is great stuff here.
Been going side by side since turn 1. I absolutely love it, but who's going to blink when they come into the bus stop? Looks like Cooke just runs a little bit deeper on the brakes there, keeps P3 there, so great racing between these two drivers. You will have to definitely say there that Dylan Scarborough might be on the softer compound. That's why he's able to progress pretty quickly up the field, as we see Cooke just run a little bit wide, maybe got a little bit of a tap there, a bit of a net code potentially between Cooke and Dylan Scarborough as he runs very wide going into the infield section. That's a very unique line there, Dylan. But if it works, if it's effective, it works for you. And then he just takes the inside line potentially. These guys are still going side by side, and we haven't even completed lap 6 here. This is absolutely incredible racing, and they're still going side by side on the exit of the toe there. Tony Griffin's just thinking, boys, can I come through, please? Because you guys are just battling too much. I just want to get my P3 back. Apologies there. But Cooke, can he get that move ahead of Dylan Scarborough? He has done, finally. It looks like he must have just run wide on the exit of the hill there. Here comes Tony Griffin. He's going to look a move on Dylan Scarborough. There he goes. Can he go for a 2-for-1 Pizza Hut delivery pizza combo deal? No, he won't. He'll go for just the one move there on Dylan Scarborough. But my goodness, what great racing between for the substitute driver and Matt Cooke.
Ah, it's astonishing stuff. Whoa, that was very close there. Didn't quite anticipate the braking that was going to go on. Matt Cooke has just ridden the wall there. So Griffo is now going to go up into P4. That's a disaster for Matt Cooke.
P3 rather.
Oh, that's P3. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's right.
And crucially, he's done it before the 90-degree corner, before turn 1. So now he's got clear track ahead of him. He doesn't have to go side by side with Cooke. And I called it at the back on the bootleg. He wanted to get through 5th to 3rd within the span of a few corners. Whoa, what's going on there? It's just a bit of a slow pace there for Matt Cooke. Maybe just getting boxed in from Tony Griffin there. Are we going to go 3 wide through the chicane here? Surely not. No. Dylan Scarborough backs out of it, but my goodness, some respectable racing here, but some intense racing amongst these boys. But such high respect by all of them.
That's top stuff. Yeah, the decision making that we're seeing right here is absolutely top of the line. Because it's very, very easy to make a small mistake or get a little bit too opportunistic. And if you do that, then, yeah, suddenly you're in the back of someone. You're picking up a penalty. The stewards will be clicking their pens. I'm sure the stewards will be watching this battle very, very closely at the moment. It's the closest one happening on track as far as we're aware. But, yeah, Griffo is he's very, very quick at the moment. He's set another fastest lap at 53.840. So that's great pace. At the moment, we've been seeing similar times from race pace up in Div 1. I think the ultimate lap time we saw was from Ando in Div 1 was 52.6, so they're a second and a bit off of that pace, which is no surprise, but that is great pace for Griffo in Division 2. Brilliant stuff. He's actually starting to pull a bit of a gap. We'll see when the pit stops begin, which should happen in the next 5 or 6 laps, exactly what tyres these guys have all chosen, but yeah, maybe a bit of a tyre difference between these three, despite the closeness of the racing.
That's what I'm thinking as well. I'm feeling like Tony Griffin is really pulling out those lap times, and and he's starting to reel in Ben Churchill just that little bit. He's got the lap times, he's got the speed, so you can definitely see that there might be a tyre difference between himself and the Diffusion driver. So the Juice Motorsports PLE entry running in 3rd place. Cooke just runs a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 1 there, but they're going to go side by side yet again. So a carbon copy of what we saw on lap 6. Can Dylan Scarborough just get his nose ahead of him and close the door? It looks like he's just got enough of a window, and he has. So he's got P4, sealed, signed and delivered. No more side-by-side racing I mean, give us some fun here, boys. You know, that's what we wanted to see. Bring us back to lap 6. That was absolutely astonishing. Side by side action by Dylan Scarborough, and runs very deep into the bus stop there, and that is a very tricky corner there. I will say that. I will, in defense of Matt Kuchar, you want to just try and keep all the speed that you can, but one little lapse of concentration or one little snap oversteer, you can really run that car deep, and you lose a lot of time. Just as we see now, he's losing ground to Dylan Scarborough, and bringing Mitch Collin back into the frame.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one as well, because as your tyres degrade, there's an element of driver ability that comes into play. That's a penalty being served there by Dylan Scarborough. Okay, so he's gonna.
We didn't see that.
Yeah, we didn't see that at all. I wonder if he just crossed the yellow line at some point, yellow or white line on one side of the track or another. But he's going to lose 2 positions there, sadly. So our stand-in driver, unfortunately, having to serve that penalty up the boot, and that's going to let Kuchar back through. That's good news for Matt Kuchar, because. Well, that's not good news for Matt Kuchar. He's getting a mix of good news and bad news at the moment. He's reading both sides of the newspaper at the moment. Yeah, him being stuck down potentially P6 if Colin caught up with him was going to be a real bad situation for him in the Drivers' Championship, with Ben Churchill still doing very well out the front. But yeah, Griffo as well. He's really closed in that gap to Ben Churchill. So Ben Churchill's by no means in a safe position at the moment. The battle here between Colin and Kuchar, a classic one that we've seen all season long, continuing with Colin really starting to make some strides. And I do want to jump up as well to Ben Churchill, who's getting hunted down by Griffo at the moment. But right now, the battle is for P4.
You can see there, Colin's just, as I said, it's only a one line coming up to the uphill section. He's just looking left, he's looking right. He doesn't know where to go, so he had to just tuck right back in underneath the rear wing of the Diffusion 426, and sitting right behind there. A much better line there through for Matt Kuchar compared to his previous lap there, and he's still holding on to P4. But as we look back to P2, we can see there, as you said, Churchill is getting reeled in a little bit by Tony Griffin in 3rd place there. There you can see the Juiced Motorsports PLE entry in 3rd place there. So very nice colour scheme there that the Juiced Motorsport entry have brought on. A bit of a purple / blue fade was really nice to see. Some bright colours there, and you can just see that bright colour Audi TT just popping up in his rear vision now. So he's not really looking forward too much. He's keeping up with Nick Hill in 1st place. If we cut to the rear camera, if we could be able to catch to the rear camera of Mick Hill, there he is. He's starting to close a little bit, but he's not really applying too much pressure at all, and he's not feeling the pressure. Is Mick Hill in 1st place there? He's keeping his lines, running consistent 1:54s, low, mid to high, running some good pace. Maybe not the pace that Tony Griffin's setting, but running respectable pace here, and that's why he's got P1. So he's keeping his eye on the battle behind him between Griffin and Churchill, but all eyes forward for Mick Hill in 1st place.
Yeah, correct. You might even say that the PLE livery is slightly juicy. Nonetheless, that's my bad joke out of the way for the day. But yeah, these battles for the top here is going to get a little bit closer. You're right in that Hill is just sort of driving away a little bit, but he's not extending a massive gap. Again, this sort of conservative driving style that we've seen from the Cooke driver development team this entire season seems to be working out. And it does give you a lot more tire life later in the race, and also de-risks a lot of what we've seen happen on track when you really run out of those tires. We were talking just a moment ago about the driver ability to adjust to tires that are wearing out. You can do less of that if you're saving more of the tires, so your driving becomes a bit more consistent. We saw how consistent his lap times are. They're all in the 454s. Whereas if you see now with Ben Churchill, with a little bit of pressure on him from behind, with the tires running out a little bit now, he sort of slipped back into the low 55s, and that's what's bringing him a lot closer to Griffo in 3rd place. So, driving style, it makes a huge difference with these Audi TT cars, and that's the real, I think, blessing about the TCR Cup and the way that these cars have been arranged, the way that they've been set up, and the way that the championship has been organized as well. It just creates so much fantastic racing, and we'll see with Division 2 as well, as we did with Division 1. Right at the end, they're all going to be running absolutely no tires. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens later in the race. We are coming up to half race distance in about a lap and a half, and we will see some pit stops pretty soon. So that's another interesting factor to this, Nick. What do you think strategy-wise? I think we've got a much bigger mix of mediums and softs than in Div 1.
Well, I just saw there as you were making your piece. So we did see Dylan Scarborough come into the pit lane. So he was on the soft tires, and I feel like I just saw Tony Griffin just pull a little bit of a hard left, hard right, going to the pit lane. And yeah, there you go. So he was also on the soft tire. So that was obviously the big pace difference that the two drivers have. The both ISO driver and Juice Motorsports driver. They had some very strong pace on those on that soft compound. As we see there, Mitch Collin looking to make a move on Matt Kuchar. He's done there, but Kuchar going for a switchback move on Mitch Collin, and right behind there, who's behind there? It is Sean Parker for Robo Sport Racing. This is a name that we haven't really mentioned too much, and you know, it's been an interesting season for Sean Parker. He's been doing so well as the privateer driver in the Player One GT3 Championship as that season wrapped up, finishing in position 3. But you could say here for Robo Sport Racing, he's been here and there. I don't think he's had a couple of race victories, but unfortunately for Sean Parker, I think he's been a little bit inconsistent in attendance as well. So I'm thinking as well, had he shown up for 100% of the races, 7 out of 7 rounds, I think we could have been definitely adding Sean Parker's name to this list of caliber drivers, and the pace that he shows is absolutely incredible. So he's taken a couple of victories here. Robo Sport Racing has taken 3 victories, with Nick Pierce taking out who was the substitute driver for Sean Parker, and Laguna Seca taking victory there. But yeah, I'm just thinking that if Sean Parker was here for all of the races, I would have thrown his name in the hat for championship contenders.
Yeah, he's proven himself a very, very competent driver, as that's a penalty served by Matt Kuchar. Uh-oh. That is, once again, not helping his cause here. It's going to have Hamilton. Hamilton the Bone has moved up again to P5, and now he's back. Is Matt Kuchar in the grasp of this battle pack in the mid, which is led by Troy Britnell, Hasseldine there as well. So that has really not worked out for Matt Kuchar. It's been good news and bad news, hasn't it? He's had the best start you could possibly imagine, but this is possibly where he would have been running with 0 mistakes if he had not gained 7 positions at the start. So he will come in for the pits. I think he's been struggling on tires.
There you go.
Time to get in. But yeah, no, I think you make some really good points about Sean Parker there. If he had been here a little bit more often, not only in this, but also in the GT3 Cup as well. At the beginning of the season in GT3 in Group B, he was challenging Dean van der Zaan in every single race for top 1 and 2 positions. A few unfortunate strategy calls, unfortunately, put him out of that. But Matt Kuchar there, we did see he is actually running on the medium tires. We saw Troy Britnell. He's hit the wall. Troy Britnell has hit the wall. Is that a steering column failure? No. No, we've had a bit of latency in the lobby. So in fact, he hasn't hit the wall as far as we can tell. He's still holding on to P6 there, but up to P5. We've got Hamilton. That's interesting for Mad Turtle Racing. That's good for them, of course, in the championship title.
Yeah, absolutely. I did say keep an eye on the Mad Turtle Racing. They were well down the order. I think they were in 6th place as we brought you the coverage here for round 7 of the Trak Racer TCR Cup. They were sitting in P6, so, and with Foster's podium finishing, and if Hamilton will be able to get some good points back for his team, they might be able to get themselves into the top 5 and maybe potentially knock CP down the order, but we'll find out very shortly at the end of this race there. And, you know, unfortunately, the same goes to Hamilton as well. You know, he's a great driver for Mad Turtle Racing, but that seat has been a bit of a hot potato with substitute drivers there. We haven't really seen too much of Graham Hamilton in the Mad Turtle Racing entry, so he's been struggling a lot just to keep that consistency. And yeah, I would say in a way for him, it's just about just getting the laps in, trying to just run with some of the MotorMotion E-Series drivers and just get himself familiar, because we could be seeing potentially his name for the next few rounds. And you know, he's a good talent, and the Mad Turtle Racing have cooped him up very nicely there. And hopefully for that team, they might be able to keep him for the upcoming series that they have presented here at MotorMotion E-Series. So we'll wait and see. As we see, the top 2 drivers are in the pit lane now. So both Mick Hill and Ben Churchill are in the pit lane, getting off those medium tyres, and on they go to the softs for the final stint there. We did see there Matt Kuchar did come into the pit lane, getting rid of his mediums, throwing on the soft tyres. But this is a very interesting thing here as well. He's the first driver to actually come off those mediums, and I'm just picking up my stats here. He pitted on the end of lap 11 when the first pit stop was made at the end of lap 12 in Division 1. So he's going for one lap undercut on the other drivers, and this could really affect him when it comes to the end of the race there. Yeah,
so he might be able to gain some positions, but he's going to be running on absolutely no tires, and Just on board at the moment with someone who we haven't mentioned this race so far, and that's Karma Foster in the 666 car for Ned's Racing. She's been an ever-present person in both the GT3 Cup and the TCR Cup, and yeah, been running a little bit further down the grid. I don't think she's coming for the pit just yet. I'm sure that'll be happening in the next couple of laps for her, but she's been driving very well. Behind her, Dylan Scarborough. And we've got Hamilton. He's picked up a 1.5 second penalty, so that'll be running wide at turn 1. And we've got Madrick right behind him on his bumper for Trackstars Racing. So the 28 car there with Rick, he's going to be looking feisty. Behind them is Troy Britnell, then Matt Kutcher after his pit stop. He's going to be fast, so he needs to get through this traffic as soon as possible, preferably past Troy Britnell, who's just ahead of him, as soon as possible, because Troy Britnell was actually running in 6th position, I believe. So he'll need to get through Troy Britnell as soon as possible, and then the rest of the field in front of him have well, a mix of them have pitted, a mix of them have not. So he should find himself in some clean air at some point, will Matt Kutcher. Behind them, Hasseldine, who served a penalty on the last lap. We've got Kingsley Hoey here. And then finally, we've got, I think this is Harrison.
Yep. So Stephen Harrison, car 41. I'm really puzzling myself here, George. I'm not so sure what's happened here. Matt Kutcher sitting 11th. Yes, he's come into the pit lane, but have the other drivers ahead of him, have they come into the pit lane themselves? Because I'm not so sure if they've come into the pit lane and Kutcher's in 10th place. I mean, you know, I could be wrong, but I'm just going off a theory here. I didn't really get to see the timing boards as they were lighting up with people entering the pit lane. But if he's down there in P10 and now drivers starting to phase into the leaders, I think he's lost a lot of ground here. He's lost a lot of positions.
I think you're right.
You know, he's well down the order here. So did something happen to Matt Kutcher on his outlap? Did he get himself a 3-second penalty? Did he cross the yellow line going into the pit lane, which is common, ladies and gentlemen? You can do that here at Watkins Glen. It's the trickiest pit entry out of all the tracks that we go to in MotorMotion E-Series. The pit entry is the worst, and you have to be really patient. But I can't even see him inside that leaderboard in the top 8. So something dramatic has happened with car 426, and I'm left confused.
Absolutely. I'm actually just as you were talking there, I actually just mentioned to the pit engineer, the broadcast people, if we could see the telemetry and have a little look around the grid, because that could give us an idea as to why Matt Kutcher has dropped down. Apparently they are agreeing to that, so we are seeing the telemetry come up on screen very, very soon. There we go. Okay, so let's go around the grid, because you're right. I think there has been an incident with Matt Kutcher. He's miles off things. And yes, he's picked up some penalties along the way, but nothing as big as a 3-second penalty as far as we saw. Ben Churchill on his final stint here. It's a soft stint. We go to Tony Griffin. He is on the mediums now and chasing down Ben Churchill. So he's had a great race so far, has Griffo. Really, really top stuff there for PLE Juiced Esports. Dylan Scarborough, he's on the medium tyre at the moment, but not as fresh as Sean Parker's tyres, so that'll be a good battle to watch later on today. Colin on racing softs. He'll be looking to get past both Sean Parker and Dylan Scarborough, possibly for a top 4, top 3 finish today. So far, all of these top drivers have pitted, as far as I can tell. Nick, Ricky Rick there, he has pitted. So hold on, you're right. Something huge has happened to Matt Kutcher, because Mad Rick has come out of absolutely nowhere. He's well ahead of Troy Britnell, who has pitted. And then we've got Matt Kutcher, who pitted earlier than a lot of these guys on the grid, is now under pressure, only just in the top 10, hits the wall again. I wonder if Matt Kutcher's got he hasn't got any damage on his car, but I wonder if he's just suffering from a bit of a confidence issue maybe out on track. Very, very hard to tell. This battle is going to continue, but that's Hamilton gone through again, and they're going to go 2 by 2 up the S's.
Sorry, apologies there. Yeah, I was just about to say, like, on the last corner there, he's been really playing with that wall. He's been hitting that wall basically every single lap there. So he's really just trying to, he's finding the track limits and a little bit extra. But one thing I have noticed as well here, I know the reason why I think he's losing time, he's put on another set of medium tires. So he's not confident soft tires can run to the end there. So he's put on a second set of mediums when the other drivers majority of the drivers ahead of him have gone on the soft tires. So very interesting strategy here for Diffusion Race Engineering. It could be a crucial championship blow here for Diffusion Race Engineering if this strategy doesn't work here. But I'm also looking on lap 12 on his outlap. He's at a 2-minute 38 lap, while the other drivers are sitting about 2-minute 29s, 2-minute 30s. So he's lost a lot of ground here, and unfortunately for him, it has really bit him. And he's down in 9th place on medium tyres, the slowest compound out of the 2 available compounds here. And that's a big blow for the Diffusion Engineering team.
Oh, it surely is. That is potentially a change in the team title. We're seeing, the loss of the opportunity, I should say, for Diffusion Race Engineering to get up into P3. Of course, our only Kiwi team, but the strategy not working out here at the moment. Maybe we can, a rabbit can be pulled out of the hat. We've seen Matt Kutscher do it before. We've seen it in the GT3 Cup. He's occasionally makes some fantastic strategy calls, specifically at Daytona, where he came out of nowhere and beat the absolute crap out of the Gridline Racing chaps to take a P2. Fantastic drive from him then, but so far, I mean, the two-stopper here, Nick, it's not only is it not optimal because you've got to pit twice, you've got to run potentially the mediums twice as well. I mean, usually with the two-stop strategy, you'd be running 2 stops of the soft tyres, would you not?
Yeah, but he's not going to go for a 2-stop. He's running it to the end. So because he pitted a lap earlier than the other drivers, he pitted on the end of lap 11, while everyone else pitted the majority of the drivers pitting at the end of lap 12. He's right underneath that rear wing of Troy Bricknell's Strike Race Tech entry. He's looking to go for an inside move here, but very smart is Graham Hamilton, trying to go a bit of a bump draft there and trying to get himself up the order and get himself into P9, but unfortunately has compromised both Kutscher and Hamilton and given Troy Brunel a bit of breathing room on lap 16 and 23. But he is running the one-stop strategy, and because he did pit a lap earlier than the other drivers, they obviously thought that the soft tyres weren't going to last. And we did see in Division 1 a lot of drivers were running on the rim on that front left.
I see, yes, so that's my fault for assuming the two-stop strategy there for Kutscher. So it's a running long strategy, and yeah, I just don't think the Diffusion Race Engineering guys got the telemetry they maybe have needed, or, sometimes what you've got to do is you've got to take a chance. They're currently running 4th in the team's title, so, you've got to try anything that will work, and we saw Aiden Sampson put on a great show. He fell off the pace a little bit. He was running higher up in the grid in Division 1, but with these 2 finishes in these 2 places, I think that all but seals the deal for Road to Racing. Of course, we're not going to call it too early. We've still got 7 more laps in this race today, and Division 2 has been perplexing, interesting, fascinating, as we expect from these Division 2 drivers. Absolutely brilliant stuff so far. I'm fascinated by how this is going to pan out at the end, Nick.
Absolutely, and yeah, I do apologise there for you, George. You were running through the grid, and the telemetry boys were giving us endless telemetry for all of us here tonight. And it's such great coverage here in the Trak Racer TCR Cup for the final round here at Watkins Glen. As we look down to Mark Hasseldine in 11th place, he will definitely we'll see what compound he's on. He's on the medium compounds. Just outside the top 10 for Extreme Motorsports, the second Kiwi team in car 16, and then we have Kingsley Hoey in position 12 on the medium compounds, the privateer driver doing a really nice job there in car 63, and then we have Karma Foster for Net Racing car 666 on the racing soft tyres sitting in 13th place, and then Stephen Harrison for CP Motorsports in 14th place, running on the medium compounds. And this is and I guess in a way this could be another interesting factor as well. Stephen Harrison is a CP Motorsports driver, but he's 14th place, where his teammate finished in P2 in Division 1. And with CP Motorsports in 5th place, this could definitely open up an opportunity for potentially Mad Turtle Racing to move up a position, and potentially for CP Motorsports to lose positions to the teams behind him.
Yeah, and just a note on the telemetry guys, you ask them for an inch and they give you a mile. So we've just been bombarded by the information from the telemetry team. You ask for one little simple stat and they give you so much information. It's really, really hard to get your head around it, especially while you're in the comm box. But we do our best, and we thank them, of course, for all the telemetry that we've had. And Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting to see Matt Kutcher fall off. We're on board with, we were on board with Hill there. And now Ben Churchill. They're solidly gapped, all of these top 3 drivers. Griffo has been running away with P3 at the moment. Dylan Scarborough is miles behind at the moment. And a little battle pack opening up here between Dylan Scarborough, Colin, Sean Parker, and Ricky Rick. Ricky Rick was running further down the field, and he's actually made a bit of a charge back. He's part of this pack now. That's a great job from him for Track Stars Racing.
Yeah, he was well down the order. He was actually outside the top 10 going on to that first lap. So he was really struggling just to get that medium tyre running. But now he's throwing the soft tyres. He's got a little bit more pace under him. And you know, I'm gonna have to give a good shout out here for Tony Griffin. You know, he's on the medium compound. He made those softs run very well in that opening stint there, made the overtakes. Unfortunately lost a lot of positions, dropped down to P10. He's now sitting back in P3. I'm not so sure if he has to pit again. He potentially might not come into the pit lane, as we see a nice move there by Mitch Collin, as Dylan Scarborough is really struggling to get that line for going into the infield section for the 18th time, and really struggling to get that to find the line, because every time we go on board with Dylan Scarborough, he's always running wide there. And I feel like, again, he's picked up another penalty. There you go, 3-second penalty. So that's a huge one for Dylan Scarborough. So he's definitely, he definitely would have cut the bus stop if he had to pick up a 3-second penalty, because he hasn't come in for a pit stop. So yeah, unfortunately for him, cutting the bus stop, and unfortunately that's what you get as a consequence.
Sadly, that's true, and yeah, his medium tyres are very worn. That's why he's not making any apexes. It was so easy, as we saw, for Colin to get through. And yeah, then with the penalty, unfortunately, he lets Sean Parker and Ricky Rick through. But yeah, Ricky Rick's going to be stoked. He's running in P6 right now. He can run to the end. There's only 5 laps left in this late race. And he's got Sean Parker and Colin fighting up ahead of him. We know that Ricky Rick has got pace. He wasn't able to really show us that during the GT3 Champs and TCR Cup. He's been a little bit in the background, but overall, we know that Ricky Rick has got some great pace on him when he gets to the right track. And clearly today, Watkins Glen is really working out for the Track Stars Racing driver, and the team overall will be absolutely stoked with that. They're running P2 in the team's title at the moment, and a decent result here with Ricky Rick is going to really help that.
And the best, and the great thing is this is the first year he's actually playing a Gran Turismo 7. So he's only picked up the game at the start of this year, and to see his progress here at MotorMotion E-Series has been absolutely phenomenal. It's been a huge honour to have him at representing Track Stars Racing, and he's doing a great job in P6 with only about 4.5 laps to go until the end of this race. He's still got some tyres on his car, but they're grading pretty fast here. Sean Parker has gone for the medium compound, and Colin's on the softs, but he's still keeping up with Colin. So full credit to where Sean Parker is. His pace on the mediums has been very strong with Mitch Collins' soft tyre running, and maybe Mitch Collins' tyres are just starting to wear a little bit more on his side, more or less kind of matching each other. I would say they're the better wear for Sean Parker, but the soft tyres are running about to where they should be on lap 19 of 23. He's still got some heat, bit of wear, but he's still finding some extra grip here and there. But with Sean Parker's worn medium tyres, I don't know, like it's an interesting thing. Like it's a topic that I've been discussing with everyone I know about, is what would you prefer? Would you prefer a worn soft tyre towards the end of the race, or would you prefer a worn medium tyre before the end of the race?
Oh, that is a difficult question.
It is. I've stumped everyone with that, and and I get different responses. I even had someone tell me, it's just like, I'll just give me a hard tyre. I'm just like, are you mad? Are you mad?
Yeah, that's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. Yeah, no, you don't want to be on a hard tyre, but that is fascinating, because you've got the lowest soft tyre grip. Versus, I don't know what I would prefer to be. I mean, usually for me, at least in my racing, qualifying pace is a very separate concept to me from race pace. And in race pace, it's really more about being how consistent can you be, because the fewer mistakes you make, be it track penalties or pit lane penalties, the more consistent the car is. Doesn't matter how fast it is in the race, the more consistent you can be in the car, the fewer mistakes you're going to make. And if you can make 0 mistakes throughout the race, as we've seen here today, especially with the way that the penalty system is aligned, or the penalty line is aligned up the boot, you can gain a real advantage and a lot of positions from others making mistakes. So for me, on that question, because it's a fantastic question, and do give us your thoughts in chat, to that question, because that's a fantastic thing to think about, I'd probably take the mediums.
Yeah, very interesting, because we can see we see in third place Griffin. He was making a charge through the pack on the soft tires, and he's on the medium tires now towards the finish line, and he's running a comfortable P3, well ahead of Mitch Collin in fourth place, and a little bit further back behind Ben Churchill in second place. But this just shows, you know, you drop down the order, you start fighting your way back, you start clawing those positions as much as you can. And, you know, with great strategy and a great tyre preservation, he's back up into where he started. So big credits there for Tony Griffin and for the Juice Motorsports entry, car 62. And, you know, all hats to him. And then, unfortunately, here, again, I'm seeing on the leaderboard there's no Matt Kuchar inside that top 8. So what has been a fantastic start to the race has all gone the wrong direction and the wrong way for the Diffusion Race Engineering. And I just got confirmation from the team, from the crew chief, from the team engineer, that Kuchar did suffer damage. That's why he came in early. So he suffered damage on the front and left. So probably he was hitting the final corner pretty hard on multiple occasions. So unfortunately, maybe that triggered something in the suspension rod, and maybe that just really made the car not steer properly. So that's why he had to come into the pit lane. And even though they fixed the car up, he's still banging the wall on the left-hand side of the final corner. So he's not learning his lesson, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's why he's on the probably that's why he's on the medium tires. So maybe they were planning for a later stint on the soft tires. But with that, unfortunately for him, you know, he's dropped well down the order, not even inside the top 8.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's another question for you. Would you rather run on with a damaged car and fresh softs, or no damage and worn mediums? I think the answer to that one's rather obvious. It's more of a rhetorical question than anything. But
yeah, exactly.
You know,
it is an interesting one, because I mean I've seen it as well in the Player One GT3 Championship, where drivers have been picking up damage, but they keep running the stint out just until they get to their pit windows. So I mean, if it was Kuchar, if it was late into the stint, I would stay out. I would literally stay out and run to plan A. I wouldn't come into the pit lane and change my plans, because yeah, you might get damage, you might lose maybe a position or two with that damage, but you need track position. That's all you need. You know, don't worry about the damage. That's just a cosmetic thing that the car has suffered, unfortunately. But just run the car out and just, you know, essentially just go to plan A and hope for the best in the last stint, and really just go full send on those soft tires. So unfortunately for Diffusion Race Engineering, as we see the Kingsley Howard just drifting on the last corner there, that's where we've been seeing some damage, that front left suspension damage from Matt Kuchar on the exit of the final corner of turn 13. But yeah, you know, I think he should have just stuck with his gun. He probably should have just gone to plan A on his end.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. It's a shame for the team and shame for the driver, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a tricky one, because I mean, especially at a track like this, it's difficult to find an overtaking area, which means that you can be very, very defensive, even on areas and the areas that you've got the slipstream here, as we do see Hasseldyne doing exactly what I'm talking about right now, which is hold the inside line. The driver's got to follow you, and then they've got to weave back to the outside to get an overtake. It's really, really tough to do here at Watkins Glen. Overtaking here is a serious challenge. So if you're holding damage, if you feel the car's slow, you know, you're probably better off just running it through and being very, very defensive. You can be slow on defensive lines and potentially force errors from the drivers behind you as well. Hopefully not into your rear bumper, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah, I think you're right. They probably needed just to run it out and but, you know, sometimes, sort of coming back to my consistency argument, to feel consistent in the car, you know, I've run cars with damage before for a longer stint, and, it's a bit of a wide line there for Hasseldyne, but, yeah, it becomes increasingly more difficult to stay adapted, and then when you jump back onto a car that has no damage and fresh tyres, you suddenly find that you don't have the pace that you had before, because you've adjusted yourself to what the car feels like. So it is a bit of a balancing act, but I think you're right. This time, it has not worked out for Kuchar and the Diffusion Race Engineering team. Real shame, because he was running P3 in the Drivers' Championship, and I don't know if he's going to hold on to that position now. I really don't.
Yeah, that'll be a huge blow there for Diffusion Race Engineering, and there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You know, some deep dive into analysis from the commentators and George, Cooke, and myself. So, no, what a way to send off the coverage here of the Trak Racer TCR Cup for the final time. We are on the final lap here of Division 2 racing here at the Trak Racer TCR Cup. It is Mick Hill leading the way. He's ever increased the gap over his good mate in Ben Churchill in second place. Tony Griffin inside the top 3. And I will say, if Mick Hill keeps his car coming on the exit of the boot section for the last time, you know, obviously praying for no disruption on his end. But if he comes through, we could be crowning ourselves a brand new champion here in Division 2 as he's negotiating the heel of the bootleg session. Well, nicely executed there by car number 3, where we'll actually be seeing car number 3 return in the real world of Formula 1 racing with Daniel Ricciardo back in the AlphaTauri team suit for the Hungarian Grand Prix. But it is another car number 3 driver in Mick Hill for the Cooke driver development team as he comes through the exit of turn 12 and onto turn 13 for the last time. It is Mick Hill in car number 3 taking the victory and the championship away from all the drivers here. It is a big congratulations for Mick Hill taking the title in the Trak Racer TCR Cup. Big congratulations to him. Well done. What a fantastic season he's had all year round, and that is a championship. 3 out of 3 championships for that Cooke driver development team, and what a dominant series that team has had in this championship.
It's absolutely massive. What a season. And what a team. What a couple of drivers. You can see that the driver development has worked very, very well. You could overlay the telemetry right now on what Andrew Scott's was in Division 1, and it would look basically the same, which is a testament to the teamwork that they've got and the strategy that they've executed today. Of course, in P2, we've got Ben Churchill, Tony Griffin in P3. We've got Mick Collin in P4, Sean Parker P5. We'll go through the full grid very, very soon and start compiling the results that are already being compiled in the background as we speak. Overheard a brief moment of telemetry chat in the back, and they're all going mental over the results. Obviously, something interesting has happened, so we will go on board for that momentarily, but it's been a brilliant season in Div 2, and this grid today is proof of that. It's a mix-up. We've had strategies that have worked, strategies that haven't worked. We've had accidents, incidents, fair, respectful driving, and some incredible performances from some of those on the grid. Not to mention, of course, Hill, who will take the Drivers' Championship for Division 2, so that's a massive, massive win, and hats off to all the drivers in Div 2. We are going to go to a results screen now and take you all the way through, but that is the last bit of on-track racing that we will see today. Now it is time to talk about results, Dick, and crikey, this is going to be close for some drivers, and for some, it's not going to be that close at all. So starting off, we do have in P1 for the results here today at Watkins Glen, 23 laps. We've just had 45 points will go to Mick Hill and Cooke driver development, and then Ben Churchill, a very solid performance there in P2. He qualified P2 and he's ended up P2. Qualified P2 and then went to P2 as well. Griffo in P3 and then Colin in P4.
Yeah, so Colin in P4, Kucha in P10. Potentially that we could see. I mean, it would be very close between Churchill and Colin, I would say, because Churchill's done a fantastic job getting that P2. He's driven his own race, no pressure. Started in P2, finishes P2. Same with Mick Hill. Started on pole, lights the checkered flag for Mick Hill, and we just saw a lot of jumbling between positions there. We saw a great start with Matt Kuchar from P10 to P3 on the opening quarter, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be a memory that'll be forever etched in the MotorMotion E-Series championship. But unfortunately, yeah, strategy just didn't work to plan after picking up some damage before he had to go to plan A. So unfortunately for him, he went to plan B, plan C, and with that, unfortunately, drops inside just in 10th place on 12 points. So that'll cost him a lot of positions, unfortunately, for Matt Kuchar. But Mitch Collin in for Sean Parker 5th. Graham Hamilton, a nice performance there. That's probably his best run that we've seen him do in position 6. Ricky Rick in 7th. Troy Bricknell 8th. Dylan Scarborough, the fill-in for Charles Nathaniel, in 9th place. And then, as we said, Matt Kuchar in 10th. Kingsley Hoey, Hazeldine, Foster, and Harrison round up the rear of the grid. But I think we have our results, our Drivers' Championship results here by our lead team at MotorMotion E-Series, and
Oh,
it is official. Mick Hill is the Division 2 champion of the Trak Racer TCR Cup, and we see a change in positions there. We have Mitch Collin in position 2 on 291 points, and Churchill steals it on the last round. It takes P3 away from Matt Kuchar, so that bad racer Matt Kuchar has hurt him in a bad way, unfortunately. So he's down to P4. Sean Parker gets the bragging rights over Ricky Rick, who finishes in P6. Tony Griffin, after a great performance, in 7th place. And Charles Nathaniel, who didn't actually race in that one, he's still managed to hold on to P8. So, I mean, good on him for finishing in P8. But, you know, I think the biggest talking point is Mick Hill. You know, a driver that we never knew. We didn't even know who he was coming into this season. You know, just a bit of hit and miss in a few rounds, but the races that he's been able to put on such clinical performances, and, you know, with all of that, has been deservingly a huge honor to have in this championship, and he is the Division 2 champion.
yeah, and in critical rounds as well, Hill has performed at the level that he absolutely had to get that P1. For example, last round out at the double points endurance, that was absolutely critical for him to make a huge jump up in the lead, and that really secured it for him, because he's ended up with a good result here, over 40 points above Colin, who was running for the majority of our season in Div 2 as the champion. But no, the champion for Division 2, taking an amazing season, will be Hill. And we do have some graphics coming up to announce our final winners. I think, you know, a shout out here for Sean Parker as well. He was on equal points, 149 with Ricky Rick at the beginning of this race, and with a good result here, Ricky Rick, sadly, while he charged up the field, unfortunately was not able to get enough points and get ahead of Sean Parker. So Sean Parker has proven to us all once again that he's got the pace and he's got the chops to bring himself into this. Yes, chops, as you can see, there's screen name. Yes, I feel very clever right now, but it's, you know, I'll take that. But nonetheless, for all of those in Division 2, they've all done their teams very, very proud this season. It's been incredible watching the Div 2 guys, Nick. It's been a real crucible, I think is the word. Purifying the grid, showing us what people are capable of, and these Div 2 guys have improved so much since their first race over 10 weeks ago.
Absolutely, and you know, we saw the camera shot where all the drivers are going into turn 1. Usually in a lower division category, you see a lot of puntarinos left, right, front, and center, and we're seeing a lot of incident reports there. But they just took that corner so cleanly. It's just not many contacts there, not many people hitting each other off. It's just a testament to how clean that racing is in Division 2. It's the most exciting division in my opinion. The Division 2 has always been the most exciting division of racing in any forms of league racing or in any support categories you see in the real world of racing. And it always shines to be the better racing than the main event that they have later on in the day. But Division 2 racing, it's been absolutely amazing, all the way from round 1 at Daytona, where we saw Mitch Collin and Matt Kuchar on the last lap going around the bus stop, the outside line for Matt Kuchar. Oh, Mitch Collin going around the outside of Matt Kuchar on the final lap there of the Indianapolis chicane. That just etches in my moment as a great overtake of the season. And I think as well, the biggest mover and shaker was that opening lap by Matt Kuchar. So a lot of highlights, a lot of lowlights for some drivers, maybe some missed opportunities for some drivers to capitalize on potential championship. I think one of those unfortunate events would have to be to Mitch Collin. I think unfortunately for him, he had P1, you could say, more or less sealed, you know. Last round, unfortunately, at Barcelona, not Barcelona, in Spa, he really struggled to get that car working, and he just couldn't get it right. And that was where the double points were. So unfortunately for him, he failed to capitalize on that double points round. Otherwise, we could have been seeing him as a champion.
Yeah, very easily. And I'm hearing from the broadcast area that we have finally calculated the team's title championship. So we're about to go over to our final information screen of the day to round out our 7-round season here at Trak Racer TCR Cup. This is going to be the big one. This is the interesting stuff, because team's title is what it all comes down to for the organizers of each of these teams. So Nick, this is I'm super excited about this. Let's run through the results right now, and of course, Cooke Driver Development will take out P1 in the team's title for the season 1 of the TCR Trak Racer Cup. Track Stars Racing is going to come in P2. A great series of drives there from Tyler Lancel and Ricky Rick, but it's so close. Only 7 points between P2 and P3. P3 is going to go to Rotic Racing, a dominant performance there by their drivers, and it was just good enough to get them up and keep that P3 position there. But here's the big news. CP Motorsports is going to go and jump up to P4 with Diffusion Race Engineering losing out massively with an unfortunate round 7 result. So, yeah, that's the final grid there for the top 5.
Yeah, that is actually a big swing. I actually would have thought CP would have dropped down a few more positions,
Yeah.
but it's Diffusion. You're right there. You called it out there. Unfortunately, the race that Samson had thought it was going to be enough to seal some points, and then Matt Kutcher's brilliant start. Unfortunately, a strategy call not going in the right direction really cost Diffusion Engineering that P4 in the championship, and they lose out to CP Motorsports. Unfortunately, with Stephen Harrison finishing last, Dean Van der Zandt's P2 was enough to get that car, to get that team into P4. So there's been an awesome series by all the drivers here tonight. And unfortunately, and Mad Turtle Racing, I didn't want to rule them out because they were more or less in contention. They're not too far behind Diffusion Race Engineering as well. So big credits to Mad Turtle Racing for an awesome season. Robert Foster, a star driver that we have to keep our eye on throughout this whole MotorMotion E-Series racing platform. So he's going to be coming up for a victory very soon, and potentially winning multiple championships in MotorMotion E-Series. So long as Andrew Scott's not involved, we could be seeing Robert Foster winning a couple of championships in MotorMotions. And then Bundaberg Red Racing. It's an interesting one there because they had Mark Pacheco, who didn't actually race in that one. So it was only Mitch Collins scoring the points there. So just like he did throughout the whole of the Trak Racer TCR Cup this year, Mitch Collins has been bagging all the points for Bundaberg Red Racing, and then he picked up a teammate, helped him claw some points over some other drivers, and that was more than enough to seal out P7 for the Queensland team in 7th place. And then Juiced Motorsports with Tony Griffin's great position 3 and Matthew Johnson's P5, just not enough to get inside that top 7. And then we have RoboSport Racing in 9th place with Ian Ward and Sean Parker. A great performance there by Sean Parker. And then Strike Race Tech in 10th place with Shane Addard and Troy Bricknell. ISA Esports just a few points behind with Kevin Cooper and Charles Nathaniel. Ned Racing in 12th, and then Extreme Motorsports in 13th place. But my goodness, what a season it has been for that Cougar team. 742 points. That is, you could potentially say that is very close to a perfect season for the Cougar team.
Yeah, it's as close to a perfect season as you can get without calling it perfection. Yeah, dominating performance all season long. Absolutely fantastic stuff from that team. But I want to make a shout out to all the teams and all the drivers here, because the battle, despite the domination from Cougar, has been fantastic. Between 2nd and 7th place, it's been, well, actually more than that, 2nd and 8th place, it's been, no, 9th, 2nd and 9th place, it's been a fantastic battle between all of these 7 teams. Between those positions. It's as close as it can get, and that's why the TCR Cup, sponsored by Trak Racer at MotorMotion E-Series, has been one fantastically organized event. So big shout out to all the marshals, the stewards, and the admins in the background who have put on a fantastic event. Nick, we wouldn't be anywhere without a good event to commentate on, and the organizational structure of this particular league has certainly helped us to make the performances engaging and active, and we've had a lot of comments in the grandstand as well, thanking not only the MotorMotion E-Series, but also us in the commentary box and the guys down in the pit lane. So big thank you to everyone who's been tuning in and enjoying the races with us as well. It's been fantastic to bring you the live action here. Both me and Nick Pautasso have been very privileged to bring you the action this season. I'm hearing that we are going to be going to a couple of trophy announcements here, so we've got a few more slides to go through, but yeah, great job from all the teams. Congratulations. And I think we also need to mention that there is going to be a 2nd season of the TCR Cup coming up this year. So keep an eye out for that on the MotorMotion E-Series channel, as well as the Surefire Supercar Series. It's all still happening, as well as a limited event series with the Sylvias as well, which is going to be very, very cool. But it is going to be the announcement here. The Division 2 champion will be Hill from Cooke. Cooke Driver Development, the number 3 car. What a season he has had. A comeback drive, a comeback season. So very, very big congratulations to the Division 2 champion. In Division 1, obviously the champion is Andrew Scott. So big congratulations to him, leading his Cooke Driver Development team to a fantastic and dominating win throughout the entire season. And of course, the team's title will go to those beautiful chaps over at Cooke Driver Development. They are soaring at 50,000 feet right now. It's atmospheric, and they've had an atmospheric performance this entire season, so they will take out the number 1 slot in the Season 1 of the Trak Racer TCR Cup from MotorMotion E-Series. Fantastic job for them all. What a season it's been, Nick. It's been a pleasure being in the com box with you all season, mate.
What a season it's been. We've had 30 drivers register for the Trak Racer TCR Cup. We've had a lot of substitute drivers coming in. We've probably potentially had drivers, at least probably about 36, 38 drivers in total, at least compete in one round here for the TCR Cup, sponsored by Trak Racer and presented by MotorMotion E-Series. And that's a huge testament to what a series this has been. It's a great series for anyone that wants to get involved with MotorMotion E-Series for the first time. If you don't know what the racing is all about, a TCR Cup is where it all is happening, with your Division 1, Division 2 standouts in Andrew Scott and Mick Hill. So it's all up to the other drivers in Season 2 of the TCR Cup to really put a charge and etch them names into the MotorMotion E-Series history book. So who could be champion in Season 2? We will find out later in the year, but it's a great starting platform for any driver that comes along at MotorMotion E-Series. 38 drivers in total racing in the Trak Racer TCR Cup, but only but we have crowned 2 champions out of all those 38 drivers, and it is Andrew Scott in Division 1 for car 787 and Mick Hill for car number 3 in Division 2. And the team that is the Cooke Driver Development from both drivers are your team's champions for Season 1, the official season of MotorMotion E-Series racing. And it is the first year of proper racing here at MotorMotion E-Series. What a journey it's been throughout the whole pilot series last time out. In 2022, we went from the Renault Megane Trophy to what is a proper TCR car in the Audi TT. We'll find out in a few weeks and a few months' time of what the car could be for Season 2. So we're hearing a few rumors of what potential cars could be for Season 2. So we'll be keeping an eye on that in the newsroom in a matter of months for when that season gets announced. But absolutely, it's been a great pleasure to be with you for the first time, commentating alongside you, George. It's been an absolute pleasure. The Kiwi broadcast team has brought an absolutely picturesque perfection for this last round here at Watkins Glen. And if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, obviously follow us here at MotorMotion E-Series on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Like and subscribe anywhere you find our name here at MotorMotion, and also go follow our friend in Gracie Good Kung Fu in George Cooke. Follow his Twitch channel where he does all of his streaming, all of his racing and commentating in other series and other forms of racing. But that's going to be us here tonight. We're going to go down and we're going to celebrate with the Cooke boys, because I think the commentators need some sort of celebration.
Oh yeah, we're going to go crack a couple of beers, I think, and go and party it down with the Cooke guys. And of course, there's a party later on for all the teams and all the drivers, which we're going to enjoy very much out here in the beautiful sunny New York in the US of A. So what a brilliant day it's been. What a brilliant season. We've traveled all over the world. We've brought coverage from a number of different races. It's been an absolute privilege being in the commentary box to bring you all the live action from this entire series. Stay tuned for more. Remember, you can visit www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com to go and check out all the articles, the post-race analysis, the post-season analysis, and all the information will be there about the next season of the TCR Cup, the Surefire Supercar Series, and the next GT3 championships as well. So once again, thank you to everyone who's been watching, supporting us in chat. You've been absolute legends. But from here in the commentary box, it is time for us to sign out. We're getting the knock that the beers are being opened, the champagne's being shaken up. It's time for us to head out. It's been a privilege. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much. We will see you guys next time. Take care, stay safe, and we will see you next time.